Hello guys. Okay, so a couple things before we get started with this response to an old review from a long time ago. The Lelouch versus Light intelligence video is finally finished. I was going to upload it today, but I decided that I'm going to do it tomorrow afternoon. Everything's done. I got the thumbnail finished. All the editing is good to go. So that's what I want to mention about that. And then hopefully next month I'll have more good stuff coming out. I'm going to try to get a video out Thursday. We'll see. I want to maybe do another discussion about Genesis RE code before it comes out next week. And when it does, I'm going to fiddle around with a bunch of stuff people have been sending me to translate the app and get it running. So let's hope that works. Okay, so that's kind of with that. Let's talk about what video we're discussing today. So this is going to be, let me share my screen here. Should probably does before I started this, but yes, I know sharing two screens is a good thing, or two monitors is helpful. Okay, let's switch out like this so I can still see me. All right, so we're going to be talking about a video GIGGUK made many years ago. Now, GIGGUK is a channel he's been making YouTube content, especially anime, for a very long time. I think over 10 years. His content has definitely changed a lot as well. It used to be kind of more review-based. Now he does like gags and what is it now? He does like the different previews for different seasons of anime. That's like his main thing. I think he's focused more attention to that, what's that podcast? Trash Tastes. He's more focused with that. That's why he, I guess, doesn't do as much content as he used to. Although GIGGUK not uploading often was pretty common, if not mistaken. So it's not like that's a new phenomenon with him. But yeah, the video we're going to talk about today is his R2 review, which I actually have watched, I don't know, probably a few times. I don't remember the last time I watched it, but I have seen it quite a few times. It's not the worst thing ever, and I want to point out that before we go into this video, like, I don't personally hate GIGGUK. I don't have anything against the guy. I've never met him, so I don't know him. There's some people who critiqued him in the past. There was a whole controversy between him and DigiBro many years ago. And I think both sides had valid points about how to make good anime videos and discussions, and how deep should you go into topics and things like that. I don't want to go into that. If you're curious, you can search like DigiBro and GIGGUK, and you can find the whole controversy that happened. I'm not going to go controversy, just like discussion they had 3 or 4 years ago. So that was kind of with that. GIGGUK right now, as you know, he does a Trash Taste podcast, and he makes spring or preview for different seasons of anime. So that's kind of a little about the video, or about GIGGUK. The video itself came out in 2011, has 400,000+ views, 7,000 likes, almost 1,000 dislikes, which is interesting. I didn't find his take to be too bad, but there are definitely some parts that I agree aren't the greatest. All right, read some comments real quick, and then we will get started. Hi, hello Code Geass, anime fan. In my opinion, R2 was a masterpiece that lived up to the quality of R1. I have differentiating opinions on that. In my R2 review, I mentioned that I liked R1's grounded story more, and the problem with R2, is that it needed more episodes. It's almost like the second part of Death Note, not to go down this rabbit hole, but that second part of Death Note was really rushed and condensed, and R2 was the same. I'm not saying like the ending wasn't great, of course it was, and there were good scenes, of course, the new nightmare frames and certain scale and events, right? Those battles, and of course your Requiem, but it was kind of condensed for me. We needed way more episodes. I was kind of hoping the 10-year project would get more, but it never works out that way. Okay, Raf015. Hi, hello there. Thanks for stopping by. One more comment here. It's hard for me to believe which is better, R1 or R2. I didn't really like Rollo, and Lloyd was underused, but R2 gave Charles a lot more to do, and Lelouch and Suzaku character development was great. Yeah, R2 was probably more focused on Lelouch and Suzaku. Completely agree on that, which is one of the problems, actually, because, Colin didn't get much of any screen time. They Shirley'd her. Is that a thing? Because she was Shirley'd. Basically, it means when you are taken off screen for some obscure, horrible reason because plot, and so other characters got time to develop, and she really didn't do much. She was in a jail wearing one of the most perverse dresses you'll ever see in anime for no reason, mind you, and so that's one of R2. It focused too much on just those characters. And I like Suzaku, and I like Lelouch in C2, but R1 had so much setup for a lot of things that R2 didn't. And yes, Charles definitely got more time to do stuff. We actually learned what his plan was. I mean, if we didn't get more Charles time in R2, then what would have been the point of R2, right? Because the whole thing of the Ragnarok connection. The first episode, Charles says it, so we had to see it eventually. You can write my fan in the background. It's like really hot in my apartment, so I'm like sweating here, but I don't want to keep it too high because then you're going to hear it. I can't use, it's really stupid. StreamYard won't, like if I put the noise canceller, then you can't hear the audio of the video. It's really weird why they do it that way, but that's is what it is. R2 was a flawed sequel, but a lot of GIGGUK'S takes, it just feels like weird. He misunderstood certain things about the story. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Wasn't Code Geass originally going to be twice its length? Yeah, I thought so, like 50 episodes for R2 at least. That's just R2. I mean, they could have done probably more. Although it makes you wonder if they had limited episodes, why the fan service filler episode. I never understood that. But it is what it is. R2 is alright if it slowed down with more episodes, including the Ragnarok connection battle, then it would have been perfect. But yeah, including Nightmare for MC2 story. Yeah, look, again, we learned more about the characters we liked, and we saw more things we enjoyed. Although I also know that R2 doubled down on the fan service, and there's nothing wrong with that. I know there's an audience for it, but there were certain characters that got like Cornelia. Man, they really ruined her. I love the character, but what was she wearing? My God. Episode 15 R2 is one I rewatch more often. I'm a heavy C2 and Lelouch shipper. What can I say? Well, since the new film came out, you don't have to ship it. I mean, it's officially canon, so it's not like you have to say like I'm a shipper. But I mean, they basically made it canon in the new universe, and arguably it was probably in the original as well, but never officially stated. Okay, Colin's character is generally got shafted. Like, I wish they expanded way more on the story with her mother and dead brother. For sure, her whole identity crisis. She does choose to be Japanese over her Britannian, but the way they handle it was kind of like she joins, like, what was it? She was battling against Gino. And he's like, oh, I see, you chose in Japan over Britannia. I'm like, that should have been a much more drastic thing than simply coming to battle. I mean, she was having a lot of problems with that in her life. And yeah, we don't talk about much of her brother. I mean, he's dead, obviously, but we don't even, there's not much resolution on that. And her mother as well. We just see her last episode, and she's freed from jail, apparently, and they live together. That could have been an episode, going through how that worked out. I mean, you can fill in the gaps, but I would have preferred to actually, I don't know, like, show what happened, you know? Again, we don't need to see the seduction club. I want to see Colin and her mother. I think everyone wanted that. But, it is what it is. Okay. When I rewatch R2, I tend to forget about Colin. In R1, she was one of the main characters. R2, she was arguably a supporting character. Yeah, especially when they had her eliminated, like, episode 10, and then she didn't show up till 8 episodes later. And she became a love interest to Lelouch because they had to get rid of Shirley. I don't know. I would not have gone that direction with that. I'm the audience low. I think they got too far. Yeah, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with, like, making a woman in an anime, like, really attractive looking, even wearing outfits that are nice. The problem with Cornelia is it looked like they painted it on her. Like, there's certain models for Sports Illustrated, or really any magazine, or really anything for that matter, where they paint them for whatever reason naked. And Cornelia looked like they painted her with the outfit on. That's why it was so ridiculous. There's no support in that outfit. How can you go into battle and be taken seriously? There's a character in Heroic Age, I don't remember her name, but she was also dressed in the most ridiculous outfit. I think she was voiced by Colin Kaikobu, the one who voiced Riza. I think it's the same voice actress. And I was like, how can anyone take you seriously? What are you wearing? I mean, there's a fine line between looking good, right, but also taking it a little too far. I mean, even the Nightmare Frame pilot outfits between, like, Chiba and Colin were also like, I don't know. You go back and forth, but I know the skin tight thing at least is equal. Like you see Suzaku's, it's like skin tight as well. So it's not like it's just Colin who got the treatment, but they really emphasized it with her and Chiba, considering, again, they made their bust size, like, really large. Not to dive into that craziness. Sally Cornelia was silent for most of R2. I absolutely loved her in R1, but they did have to make room for the true villain of the show, Charles and Schneisel. Yeah, I don't think Cornelia was even technically a villain by R2 standards because she definitely changed a lot. They said I don't remember the exact thing she did, but did she give her claim to the throne or something because of what Yuffie did to clear her name or something? She was doing a bunch of stuff to help out Yuffie, which like destroyed her whole status as a princess in Britannia. I forgot what V2 said exactly, but when she was captured by V2, they were talking about it in her cell. She mentioned like how or he mentioned that she did something for Yuffie, and so she lost a lot of her royalty because of it, which is commendable. So she went from like a villain to, I guess, an anti-hero. I'm surprised they're creating a Geagguk's R2 Code comic. They are? I didn't see that. Well, would it be a manga? Was that something new? I don't remember seeing that. I check that website every day. That's pretty good. I didn't even see that. I'll look at that later. I feel like a lot of characters start off interesting, but once they join Zero Squad, they lose importance, like Todo and Shinkai. Yeah, well, with Todo, he was going to die, and then Lucius was like, you got to live up to the miracle you caused. And then the next episode, they utilized him, like when he helped out in that island in Shigan Island. Yes. Kamina 1, I think, is the one they transported to. So Shigan Island, he helped out, and Lucius was like, oh, Todo was really talented. No wonder why he was a miracle worker, right? So I definitely see, like, they tried to bring him in, but yeah, Code Geass has too many characters. That's always been a problem with the series. Too many characters. Yeah, and Shinkai too. You know, one thing about Shinkai I'll just say is they should have killed him off in R2 because apparently he was sick and it was implied he died, but they never showed it. So they should have had him die in some heroic way because it was implied he had some kind of sickness, but they never did anything with it. That's the problem with Shinkai. At least with Todo, they acknowledged a part of his character and he did something productive. Problem with Shinkai, he had this illness and they kept saying he was going to die or something. Like I think Zhao, that's right, I'm mispronouncing. That girl always hangs out with him. She was like, "Oh, he's going to die" or something. It never happened. Like it was like one of those things where like, yeah, it might happen. Like he's coughing up blood, but he never dies. I don't want characters to die in anime, but like it would have made sense going on his character. At least I feel it would have been. Colin Klinkerbird. Yes, that is her name. I always felt weird when Nelly died and Colin doesn't connect the dots between that and Lucius looking depressed. You know what? I've watched Code Geass enough times. I've never thought about that. She never put together that Lucius was depressed, even though... well, you know, actually, hold on a second. I'm going to have to stop you there. Wait, wasn't she trying to cheer him up because because Natalie was dead? Wouldn't you say, like, when my brother died, she tried to comfort him, relaying her own experience and saying how it was for her when her brother died? So I think she knew he was depressed. I don't think what she said helped. Although Lucius was appreciative when she said, Natalie saved my life. Which she did, by the way, because if she wasn't there, they would have killed her off. Alicia. Of course, ironically enough, even with Natalie there, they still tried to kill Colin. I don't know why it took so long. Whatever. It is what it is. She had to come back to save them. R1 did better fan service, better, also had nudity. It's true, it did have nudity. There's no nudity in R2. Ironically enough, no nudity in R2, but R1 had nudity for... Colin's naked twice. There's 2 nude scenes of Colin, and there's one scene where you see Valletta's top, which, by the way, is actually very important. And I'm not going to discuss that here, but Valletta's nudity is actually a plot importance to the story. I never realized it till like DX's video, but her actual her nudity is very important to the story, believe it or not. And Colin's the first nudity scene of Colin in the shower scene. In the original, they blocked it with some kind of steam, but in the Blu-ray, it didn't have it. So when I got the Blu-ray for the first time watching it, I was like, whoa, that steam was removed? That was, that was something else. Okay, continuing on here. Jeremiah was cooler in R2, agreed. I liked the idea of Dieter leaving Zero, but after he joined Schneider's side, he just stood around smirking. Yeah, I mean, Dieter was kind of a tool. He died off screen in the Resurrection movie, similar to Zumi and Shambhala. Yeah, but like, oh god, did you bring up Fullmetal Alchemist? Why would you do that? Especially, that At least with Izumi, yeah, you know what? It's the same. They should just, yeah, it was just as bad. But at least in Shambhala, didn't they like at least say she died? Like they literally like said it outright that she's dead. With the Resurrection film, they show you like a montage of characters who died in the first scene with the cafe, but I looked at this. I believe everyone there is actually dead. So I guess that's how you know Shinkei died. But it would have been nice if they just said it, had some kind of funeral, anything really. They never confirm Shinkei died in the original series since he was the only one who didn't show up at the wedding. I don't remember. You're right, Colin tried helping him when he was mourning. That's right. I'm going to watch R2 soon. Yep, go for it. It's a nice show. R2 didn't have nudity because of the time slot. Probably. R2 had nudity in the episode that opens with Shirley, Millie, and other girls in the bath. I don't remember that. Nudity in the episode opens up with Millie and Shirley in the bath. Oh, yes, you're right. You're right. That's the one when Millie was going to graduate. But there's no, like, you don't see... God, now we're getting a little perverted here. But you don't see the nipples. You just see, like, yeah, it's like, she's going like this. That doesn't count. I mean, like, you see everything, or most everything. That's why I say nudity. Like, yeah, they're technically naked, but but do you see anything? No, not really. We'll see about R2 in terms of fan service. There actually is... I should correct myself. There is one nudity scene in R2. When C2 kisses Lelouch and she's flying through C's world, she is naked. You do see everything. Now her opacity's up like, I don't know, 75%, and she's colored, but you do see everything. She's pretty much naked. I think the same also goes when she's stabbed by the nun. I haven't watched that scene in a while. I don't know if she is nude in that scene as well. Like, you see her naked, obviously, but again, you don't see the nipples. That's a funny word. But you do see her nipples when she resurrects Lelouch, so there is that. Not sure why we're going this direction, but here we are. DX sucks. Indeed, he absolutely does. One day we'll talk about him. Well, not him, the videos he makes. I don't know him personally. You cannot say Valetta's tits are mega important. Not explain. I'll just say this much, okay? I'll give you like a brief explanation why, alright? It's not the boobs that are important. I should be more clear. It's not the boobs. It's the fact that you see her midsection, because you remember what DX said in the video? He said that Valletta was shot in the stomach, right? But when you look at her shirtless, her stomach has no bandages on it. That's how stupid DX was in that video, because he was saying, oh, she was shot in the stomach. Her shirt's off. There's no bandages on her stomach. There's her arms. She was shot in the arm. The purpose of her taking her shirt off was to show you where she was shot by Shirley. So when DX said she was shot in the stomach, and that causes a, memory loss, he got it wrong on like several counts there. He was actually right about saying odd about the Valletta situation, but he was also wrong at the same time. That's why her nude scene's important, because you actually see where she was shot. So there you go. That's like a little like brief explanation as to why Valletta's nudity is actually really important. Low-key, very important. There was a stream everywhere. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. The most awkward time the fans heard was C2 naked at the church. What was that about? I have no idea. Maybe part of the transfer the code requires you to become naked or something. But then again, that doesn't make any sense, because I don't know. Well, actually, didn't the nun tell C2 to give back all her gifts? So maybe her outfits were the gifts. Remember when she was first found by the nun, she was wearing like rags? So maybe the outfit she had were gifts from people, so she had to give it all back. That's why she went nude. Why are you doing this, step nun? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's the thing with Valletta's nudity and C2's nudity. Yeah, nudity. That's the theme of this one. Okay. We're like 20 minutes in. We haven't started the video yet. Okay. Let's get started. Let me know if you guys can hear us or not. And here we go. Let me just change my perspective. Bam. All right. Here we go.
Warning, the following video contains major spoilers on Code Geass R2, and may contain an opinion which differs from your own. If you have not seen R2, cannot stand bad language, or you're just an annoying fanboy twat, viewer discretion is advised.
That's pretty funny. I guess he's saying that because fanboy twat. Yeah, I guess that's what we are. Okay. I probably can't play that because copyright. Oh my god, is he done with the music yet? I don't want to get the copyright. Okay.
You know what? I really wasn't looking forward to this review, partly because I never actually planned to review this in the first place, if not for about half my subscribers simultaneously shouting, "Hurry up and review R2, you knobhead!"
You know what was really depressing about this little point here is that this is kind of what happened to anime YouTubing in general. Like, it's gotten much worse over the years, but basically whatever's popular you talk about, and you don't talk about anything else anymore. That's why most niche channels don't really exist, or if they do, they only pick popular shows. Not to tag anyone, because I like these guys, but like Geekdom 101 or Schwag something, rather than name, they do Naruto videos and I guess occasionally Dragon Ball Z. Or no, I'm sorry, Geekdom does Dragon Ball Z, Schwagi does Naruto, and then with Gigguk and like Mother Basement, all they talk about is whatever comes out, whatever the latest show came out. For example, when Higurashi, the new series came out, the first one, not the second one, the first one that came out, Mother Basement did a whole video about Higurashi, the original, why you should watch it. He only did it because Higurashi just came out. So this whole thing here is kind of frustrating. A lot of people actually discuss Code Geass who don't really want to, but because, or really any popular anime, but because they know it's popular and people want to watch it. I've seen a lot of channels do this lately, and it's kind of frustrating. I mean, look, you gotta do what you gotta do, but this whole point about this photo here is basically anime YouTubing in a nutshell.
You knobhead! And partly because there isn't a lot of good I can say about the show that I haven't already said. I mean, all the superficial things are basically identical, so let's get all the repeated praise out of the way, shall we? The soundtrack is still the same epic stuff it always was, animation is still just as good if not better than it was in Season 1, and character designs are still so pretty that they can make Beyonce's arse look like a dog's saggy bollocks crossed with Amy Winehouse's face. Or just Amy Winehouse. Voice acting is still great with...
Again, why the copyrighted music?
Job with Lelouch.
It's morphin' time!
And all characters still come complete with chin so pointed that you can probably attach them to Paris Hilton's vibrator and use them to drill to the centre of the Earth. Okay, so now with all that praise out of the way...
I will admit, the Code Geass the characters' chins are really pointy. Well, Clamp in general, for some reason, they give so many long limbs to all their characters. I'm never a big fan of it, but like, that's just their style. What I like about the new animation for Genesis RE Code, and also even Resurrection, they've improved the animation quite a lot. The characters look fuller, not as thin and kind of gross like they did in Code Geass. Although some people who've looked at or watched my videos have told me that they don't really care about the designs, but it's a pretty reasonable critique, and for some reason Clamp did that all back in the day. But it is what it is.
Wait, you may think I'm being overly harsh in the rest of this video, but that's mostly because I just don't want to be repeating myself for my first review. But as you all probably know by now, I thought the first season of Code Geass was one of the best and most entertaining animes I've seen, and I think that review gave...
It's funny because if you watch their trash taste video on Code Geass, GIGGUK'S says like it's not as good as he thought it was. So this video didn't age well. Cause I can always talk about that video too, maybe after this one. But he was saying how Code Geass wasn't as good as he remembered. So he said it was really good, but he must have watched, in his mind, I guess, better shows that it's not as good as he remembers. So it's a good thing to note there.
Gave everyone the impression that I'd just be rolling out the 10 in the R2 review, so I feel like it's my responsibility to fly in and tell everyone why this isn't the perfect anime. No.
Yes, this is what you commonly get now in reviews of good shows, even though this came out in 2011. But this idea, I've seen this in so many areas where, because everyone says it's so good and so perfect, even though nothing is actually perfect, but because they say it's so perfect, I'm going to go through and find out obvious flaws of the show, because obviously nothing is perfect. It's a common backlash I've seen in so many reviews of whatever show is supposedly considered really good, and then they get debunked saying it's not really good. This is very common. You see this all the time in anime reviews. Really, any reviews for that matter. Don't say something's really good because you're going to go in there and crap on it. You know, like Attack on Titan, I think, is the latest victim of this, because everyone loves Attack on Titan, but then the last part of the manga was questionable, and then you're like, it's not that great anymore, and then I'm going to go through and destroy all the plot and all that stuff. So it's pretty common. In my opinion, though, if like you don't have anything good to say about the show, or you don't want to do the review, then don't do the review. I hate when people say stuff like, I've seen this a lot in videos where they go, I didn't want to have to make this video, but here we are. And I'm like, then don't make the video if you don't want to make it. No one's forced you to do anything. You want to make the video because you want the views. Like, just be honest. Say, like, I want to make the video. I've seen that a lot with certain people. Read a couple comments here before we continue. I miss GIGGUK'S old edgy humor. Yeah, that's true. It used to be a lot funnier. The nun told her to get back the gifts, and one of the gifts was clothing. She was undressing to do it. Probably was going to get into something different before the nun started the transfer. Yeah, that's probably what happened. Oh, hey, Hail Crimson King. Haven't heard from you in a long time. Thanks for tuning in the stream. Schwag Kage. Yeah, that's it. Swag Kage. I'm such an idiot. The whole time I read his, they was there like, oh yeah, Swag Kage. Yes, that's right. That's right. Okay. Yeah, I wish people just gave the classic some love instead of the new stuff. That's never gonna happen. I mean, there's so many classic shows I keep discovering. I mean, I'm glad Retro Crush and streaming services like that exist, but yeah, it's never gonna happen. And look at I watched, this is not even considered a classic, but I saw Double O recently, maybe like 2 months ago, and that's really good. But I bet most people have never seen the show and never will, because there's just so much stuff that comes out nowadays. Why even give it a look? And when you go on YouTube to look up stuff for Double O, you don't get much coverage of it, which is surprising because the show was really good. Like, it's on the same level in my mind as Code Geass in terms of like the content it brings, the character development, the action, the philosophical concepts about war, how do you end it. But it never caught the same praise. It's kind of like Razafon and Evangelion. Razafon was really good too, but again, it just never caught on, and no one's ever gonna watch it because no one knows it exists. It's a very depressing thing. I wish we just gave the class more. So 2011 was a simple time for YouTube. I think it was a simple time in general. The girls look good in Code Geass. Yes, they do. I don't deny that. But I'm just saying that their designs were kind of unrealistic. We'll say that much. It's kind of a critique. It's the base of the Cinema Sins. Yeah, basically. Believe Cinema Sins says, and it's not like a path, but they go like, yeah, we know we're crap. We know we're awful people. We know that already. Like they tell you up front, yeah, we do it because that's kind of the purpose of our channel. Some YouTubers don't make that entirely clear, like why they're reviewing it. Like DX, for example, his video was pure hatred of Code Geass. It wasn't out of love or, comedy. It was, I hate this show, here's why. At least Cinema Sin is like, there's no real heart feelings, but we're gonna, pick this movie apart for whatever reason. Gundam Double is actually quite fairly popular. I mean, maybe it's popular amongst like people who watch it, but you go on YouTube and you don't see a lot of people talking about it. That's what I mean by popularity. Yeah, I know there's a channel for Gundam called Gundam Network, I think it is, and they recently showed the film for Double O, and I got like 1 million views. So I know people like the series. I'm just saying that like YouTube-wise, you don't see a lot of coverage. I think there's a couple smaller channels that discussed it, and I know that like Last Reflection did a video about it many years ago. Actually, more clear, I know it's popular, but I'm just saying compared to other shows that get discussed often on YouTube, it's not the same level. I think it's good to have criticism about a show, and hell, if you do feel like free make videos, hating it, do it. But when you're making a video, you got to be careful not to make objective claims. A statement, yes, as in that you're right and that there's no other read. That's the problem. DX does that. He's probably gonna do it in this video as well, and a lot of people do that. They'll make objective statements, which is the problem with a lot of reviews. That's very true. Critique is fine. Critique is good because it improves, but make sure the critique is do your homework first. There's another channel that does Code Geass videos. I won't shout him out because I don't hate the guy personally, but he made a video. He made several actually, and the problem with the video wasn't so much the content, which I mean, like the actual point he was making. It was just that he kept getting things wrong, like really obvious things or conflating ideas. And you got to do your homework first. And if you don't understand a concept in a show, like make sure you go on Reddit or Facebook or wherever you guys go for information, Quora, ask questions, go on the Wikia, watch the show several times, and then come back and actually do your video, as opposed to just watching it once, think you know everything, make a video and look stupid. I did it sometimes and I regret it. And now I go on like a Reddit all the time and I post a question I have. Even stupid questions. I don't care. I want to make sure I have this understood before I go make a video. For example, the one coming out tomorrow, Lush versus Light, I asked several questions on Reddit about the show, Death Note, because I haven't watched it in a while, or I did watch it recently rather, but was confused about certain things, and people explain stuff. So it was actually a good idea to actually ask people who are, I don't know if they're experts, but fans who love the series to explain themselves. Because I know there's a lot of people who complain about shows. I don't think they fully understand the plot or the characters because they make obvious mistakes that are. I mean, you could easily catch that, and it's annoying. And again, I'm not some guy who never makes a mistake, but I'm trying more often than. I'm making a conscious effort to research things before I say something because I've made a lot of mistakes in the past, and you look stupid afterwards. And at least I admit that. Not that it makes it any better. Well, they make videos on smartest anime characters, and they put loose there, not matter what more anime. Yeah, of course. Gundam Info. Yeah, that's the channel, right? Because popular amateurs aren't really into Gundam. I mean, here's the thing. According to Glass Reflections, and I think most people would agree to this, Double O can be watched by anybody. You don't have to be a Gundam fan to watch Double O. It's one of the most easiest Gundam shows to get into. Although I personally find them all pretty easy to get into. But if you want to pick one that's for all audiences or has a better appeal, Double O is definitely the show to get into. So even if you don't like Gundam, there's no reason not to talk about it. It's like Code Geass. It's got a lot of deep show, good characters, and it happens to have mechas in it as well. I wouldn't be dissuaded by the fact that it's a Gundam show. I know for some reason people are like, I can't watch Gundam. There's just too many shows. It's too annoying. I'm not into that thing. You don't have to be a Gundam fanatic to watch Double O or Wing or Zeta or any of it for that matter. I never understood that. I think it's just because it's not popular and it's not out. That's why people are not talking about it. That's just my personal opinion. I've never heard people say I'm not into Gundam. When are you going to do DX's videos? When I reach a milestone. I'm not sure which one yet. I want to reach a certain milestone before I discuss it because I want to have, I think I said this before many times, I want to have a lot of people watching this at once. Not that I don't mind you guys. I think it's great that you guys want to stay by and watch this, but if I get 100 people watching this and getting actual feedback, I also kind of want to bring other people into the stream to discuss the video as well, who are more knowledgeable in Code Geass than I am, which is quite a lot of people as far as I know. Like Gladiator King, I'm not sure he's in here, but he knows his stuff. So whoever honestly would like to do it, because there's a lot of the problem with DX's video is that it would probably take 3 hours to break it down, and I have so many notes on it. It's crazy, honestly. I like to reach a couple milestones, so it's like an incentive for you guys to subscribe and stuff. That's selfish, I know, but that's my that's why I'm gonna do it. Well, yeah, most people have personal. What does IBO mean? I'm not sure because it's the most recent one. Well, Zeta is a sequel to the original. Yeah, I know Zeta. I was just listing out different ones. I guess said what's it called? Gundam Teams, right? Mobile Suit Teams. I could have done that one where it kind of copies DBZ. Oh, Iron Blood Orphans. Yes. Yes, Iron Blood Orphans. That's right. That was the most recent. You know what? I was watching the first couple episodes and I was not feeling it. That animation, I don't know what it is. It's too weird for me. Like the girl who comes in to help them out in that first episode, I don't know. It seemed too much like 002 because it's a similar type of concept where they have to get the one mech to save everyone. It's the Gundam, of course, and I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of similarity between the shows. I guess with I know Wing actually started first, and then 00 kind of copied Wing, and then look, it's a good formula. Obviously, keep it going. Okay, let's continue on.
But before you want to start this video and unsubscribe to me, let it be known that I certainly didn't think R2 was bad. The first 8 or so episodes were just as entertaining to me as the whole of the first season was, and it has one of the best and most epic anime endings I've seen, period. Seriously, this ending is in my personal top 3 best anime endings of all time, and that's saying something. But I'm sure you already knew all that anyway, and knowing that about half my subscribers are fans of this show, I know that I just can't blindly rip on this anime like I usually do. So allow me to try something different this one time and actually try to make some constructive points on why I think R2 is far inferior to this first season. Point 1, the mecha battles. Okay, my first point may be my weakest point, since this is more of a personal preference, but the thing I liked most about the first season were the tactics and strategies used in the battles, not the actual mechas fighting themselves. Sunrise at Sea took this concept and flushed it down the toilet. Gone were the clever tactics that were the decisive factors in victories, and instead we would get Professor ADHD here, who would install some ultra booster mega gun type supersonic powerful thingy that would instantly cripple all enemy forces within a matter of minutes in what can only be described as Gundam disorder. Oh sure, they tried to pull the wool over our eyes when making it seem like tactics were involved, but let me ask you this. Did it matter that Shinkai outsmarted Lelouch in China when he had a nightmare which he seemingly pulled out of his arse that destroyed all enemy nightmares in a single bloody shot?
Alright, we gotta... Wait, hold on. Let me finish this point. There's a lot of things to break down here. I know.
Any tactics matter in the Tokyo battle when in the end Callan appears out of nowhere and wipes out everyone thanks to the enemy conveniently leaving the keys right next to the Gurren for her to use? Exactly. Point 2. Character.
Alright, well, let's break down these points here, because there's a lot to say here. The main thing he's saying is that there was no strategy in R1 compared to R2 because of the power creep. He's basically saying that power creep was awful in R2, and there's definitely some truth to that. I mean, there was a lot of power creep. The thing I don't understand, I'm like a broken record at this point. In the original R1, it was the same problem. If you don't like how this show formulates its conflicts, you're going to hate R1 as well because it was the same thing. Lelouch comes up with a great plan. It's going well. Then the landslide comes in. Plan instantly fails. Rinse and repeat. Sure, Lelouch, you could use the same argument against R1 as well. Yeah, Naruto was cool because they caused a landslide and they got Cornelia cornered, but what happened after that? The landslide came in and it was game over for Lelouch. So this theme of having like one nightmare frame dominate the battlefield, making tactics pointless, is one of the things of Code Geass. It's one of the themes to it. If you don't like that style of storytelling, you won't like the show. R2 doubled down. Wow, I'm like struggling here to think about this. They doubled down on it. There we go. I said it kind of weird. They doubled down on the mech stuff, but it was always like that. Code Geass has always had this idea where the strongest nightmare frame dominates everyone else. When Lelouch got the Gawain, he was the strongest guy out there, except when Suzaku kind of lost it. And Cornelia also owned him too, but to be fair, Cornelia is one of the best pilots in Code Geass, pilots in Code Geass. So that's the first thing about this formulaic thing where like strategies don't work because one nightmare frame can win the whole battle. That's garbage to me. That's not a fair critique. That's just how Code Geass tells its story. If you don't like it, don't watch it. I mean, I know that's a stupid... I know people hate that already. Like, don't say that because it doesn't mean anything. Look, that's how it does its story, okay? Dragon Ball Z is no different. I love Dragon Ball Z, you know? Or Naruto. I don't want to hate on Naruto, but let's be honest with Naruto for a moment. Most of the time, the plot is like this. An Akatsuki member is specifically Shippuden. I haven't actually watched the original Naruto series. But in Shippuden, there's an Akatsuki member. No one can stop him. Naruto has to come in there and save the day. Now, granted, there are some that are taken out by our shinobi, but most of the time, Naruto is needed to save the day. No one else can do anything. Everyone's surrendered. Pointless. Tactics don't matter because of the power creep, right? It's a very common shonen trope. Basically, what you're attacking in this video is nothing to do with Code Geass. You hate shonen anime, or you don't like the shonen formula, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people don't like shonen stories for this reason, but don't act like Code Geass is somehow the only show that does this. This is a very, like, why do you think they chose this why do they chose this formula for the show? They know it works. It's repetitive and like people like that stuff. So before you go on and say like the whole dominance of one nightmare frame, that's really irritating. That's the first thing I don't like when people make that complaint. I've seen it so many times, it's irritating. And they say Gundams, you know. Yes, and what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with how Gundam works. You know, a bigger mobile suit fights another one. There's constant, this one trumps that one, or that one trumps this one. I don't care. That's you're watching the show for that reason. You want to see how powerful these mobile suits can get. That's why Double is so awesome, because at the second season they get like improvements of their current mobile suits, and it's so cool to see those things in action. And of course, Trans Am and all those new weapons they get. I think it's great. Okay, something else too he said, which oh my god. All right, where is it? He said, where was it here?
Yeah, who would install some ultra boost?
Okay, this is what I'm talking about when you don't actually do any research of your show. Okay.
Who would install some ultra?
This is not his. He specifically didn't make the wings. That was Cecile. Those were Cecile's energy wings. If you just watch the battle in Tokyo 2, she's... Hold on a second. Sorry about that. My tablet is going off. Give me a second here. Let me silence it. Come on now. I had a point, but I gotta silence my tablet. I should have before I started the stream. I thought it was off. Okay. All right. Done with that. Now, in what I was saying, for those wings, that was Cecile's energy wings. She literally tells the audience and Lloyd, those were my wings. And even Raksha's like, what are Cecile's energy wings doing on my Gurren? So, before you go off and say like, oh, the Lloyd did that. No, that was Cecile. Now, that's not relevant to the major point he's making, but again, it's details like that where if you just watch the show, you would know that. This is why people who don't like the show or not Code Geass fans don't watch the show or don't talk about it. I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm just saying gatekeeping here, but I'm just saying if you don't like the show and it bothered you, and you don't want to do research to figure out how things work in the show, then don't talk about it. It's fine, you know. As what did Timon say? We don't want to hear about it. Yeah, we don't want to hear about it. You know, Simba's like, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, we don't want to hear about it. That's fine. You know, move on with your day. The other thing too, of all these adjustments, right? The show actually does explain, you know, where they're coming from, because Code Geass actually behind the scenes, it's not like a major, I guess, plot point until it is, which is the whole advance of the technology in the show. But they actually do explain how this stuff works, and things are improving as the episodes go on. That's one of the best parts about Code Geass and R2 specifically, because you really see how advanced these nightmare frames have become. They went from glass skulls, and even before that, where they could just, like, they rolled and they had, like, basic weapons, to, you know, more standard military cookie cutter, and then people started getting more specialized, and then eventually we got our first float system, and then everything has a float system, and then they improved the float system. You had that, like, attached to a nightmare frame, then it, like, was more like became part of it, to this. That's why this is actually really cool, because you get to see how far it's gone in improvement. So I don't know what they're talking. I know what he's talking about here when he says this is some kind of, like, I don't know, like a plot convenience. I don't know. Like, nightmare frames are always being improved. They're always improving in Code Geass, especially when you have Rakshata and Lloyd working on it. That's why this take is kind of odd, because it's, I don't know. It's weird to me. I thought they explained this.
Booster Mega Gun.
Now here's the thing too. This Mega Gun, this was an R1. Okay, so this is crap. The Varus cannon was an R1. It was used in the hostage rescue. So what are you talking about? That's complete crap. That was in R1. If you don't like the way the show does it, for, you know, the battles and the style and the storytelling, that's fine. Why attack Code Geass for it though, when this is clearly something we've seen in so many other shows? It's not even a Code Geass thing. It's real bizarre.
Type supersonic.
Again, this arm, there's like the only thing with the arm that you can mention is the fact that it got an improvement where it could fire. It can fire two different waves now. It can fire one that shoots like a single blast, and then also can shoot like a more widespread. The widespread's like an EMP device or a pseudo EMP device. And I never like questioned it in turn 6, because considering how advanced the Lancelot became and other nightmare frames as well, and the fact that Raksha's been tinkering with this technology for a while now, to me the upgrade to the Gurren was kind of late, if anything. Like, I was kind of surprised it took that long to improve it. So it made sense to me, like, if you're going to improve your technology, one of the weaknesses of the Gurren was the fact that it required direct contact for it to work. So what's the next stage in evolution? It can fire a beam instead of just requiring close contact. Now, I assume he's using these terms like supersonic power arm thingy because he's just being, you know, comedy there, even though it's actually called what is it? The radiant wave surger arm. I guess he's just saying that because, you know, comedy wise, it was much funnier in Code Men when they called it a laser arm as opposed to this.
Powerful arm thingy that would instantly cripple all enemy forces within a matter of minutes in what can only be described as Gundam disorder. Oh.
So again, there is. I will definitely admit that in turn 6, Colin had probably the strongest nightmare frame. However, I will also say that that doesn't really matter because one of the things in Code Geass is that mechs or nightmare frames are always getting stronger as new ones come out. So it was very powerful and it took out a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't mean they didn't have another one waiting in the wings to fight it off. The Knights of the Round members, for example. I mean, Gino said he went too easy with attack when he fought Colin. That's why she took him out. But if he took her seriously, he might have actually given her a better fight in the flight-enabled version. The other thing, too, about the whole OP Gurren model was that they had to get Colin out of the show because it was too overpowering. That's why she lost to Shin-Kei, in my opinion. And I will say that to make the Shen-Hu as like this new nightmare frame to fight Colin was a way to deal with the power creep. That was not handled well, okay? But that doesn't mean that what Colin did was stupid. And again, just because one nightmare frame changes the whole battle doesn't mean that the combat and tactics are pointless. It's because if even you had all the advanced nightmare frames, but you didn't know how to utilize them in combat, like as a strategist, like Schneizel or Lush, you'll still lose the battle. What they don't understand, what Giga doesn't understand here is that during the combat, Lush is giving out orders for different units to do different things. Those orders is what turns the tide in the battle, not the nightmare frames themselves. It's one thing to have all the best players, on your team. If you don't know how to utilize them, you're going to lose every game. Just watch any sports. If you're a fan of any sports teams, you'll notice that it happens all the time. So there's this notion of just because it's so overpowered, therefore there are no tactics or strategy will work. Well, I think you're understating how good Lucius strategies are in these battles. Let me just do one more point here, and then we'll go into the comments.
Oh, sure, they tried to pull the wool over our eyes when making it seem like tactics were involved. But let me ask you this. Did it matter that Shin-Kei outsmarted Lelouch in China when he had a nightmare which he seemingly pulled out of his arm?
Okay. It actually did matter that Shin-Kei outsmarted Lelouch because it cost them Colin. That was a huge consequence in the show. They lost Colin for the entire show until, turn 18. This is why Giga's point here is... This point here is awful on so many levels. One, yes, Shin-Kei stopping Lelouch prevented them from getting Colin back. Since Colin is their best Nightmare Frame pilot, and arguably the strongest Nightmare Frame pilot in Code Geass, I would say that was a pretty big consequence. Did Lelouch stopping him at the end, was that a problem, or was that destroyed what Shin-Kei did? No, absolutely not. If anything, forcing him to pull out a Nightmare Frame like that, especially since I assume Lelouch kept it in the wings only for emergency, shows that how powerful or how good Shin-Kei was against stopping Lelouch there. When you have to go to your last resort, that's never a sign that you're winning. It means you're losing. So the other thing too about this nightmare frame, I mentioned in a different stream, but they actually show you it in the in episode, I want to say 8 or 9. One of them. It's actually in they show you the boat that comes in. And it has nightmare frames in there from India, and one of them was the Shinkiro. So it wasn't pulled out of nowhere. They had it ready to go. And Rakshata even said that she took parts from the Gwain to make the Shinkiro and the weapons for the Ikaruga. So it wasn't like this was just some random nightmare frame that Lelouch pulled out of nowhere. He had this ready to go. He just didn't want to have to use it. Lelouch is also a terrible nightmare frame pilot, so less him in seeing him, the less you see him in combat, the better. Okay. Let's read some comments real quickly here. Gundam 00 improves, massively improves Wing. I'm watching Wing now, and I can definitely see that. I feel like people always exaggerate how strategy this series is. Are we talking about 00 or Code Geass? I'm not sure which one. Well, yeah, Code Geass definitely. There are strategies involved, but it's just this... I don't know, I just I'm okay with how Code Geass does their style of writing, because again I like shonen stories, so it doesn't really bother me too much, but I just find it weird how you say one show had tactics and the other one didn't when they both did. I mean, didn't Lelouch use the Gefion Disturbers to stop the Tokyo Settlements so the lower nightmare frames couldn't participate in the battle so they can take advantage and win? And they almost did too, because of that. I don't know. Whatever I'm talking about, I must be crazy. Well, for Naruto, the power creep is pretty minimal up until the final arc. The strong characters in consistency and the strongest held up to the middle of the Shippuden. I mean, yeah, but when Pain got involved, and I don't want to go into Naruto too much here, but when Pain got involved, I mean, no one could do anything. It was pretty much Naruto or the whole village gets destroyed. And even like the end with the last arc with Madara, obviously that the was it the fourth or the third war? I always forget which one. In that one, Naruto was the most important person, although Sakura and Sasuke helped out too. I'm just saying in Naruto there were so many times where the village was attacked by Akatsuki members, and usually Naruto had to be the one to save everybody. That's what I mean by the power creep situation. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. I think those are some of the most epic parts of the series. I'm just pointing out that this is not a Code Geass related thing. This happens all the time in shows. Shonens, I should say. Double O's visuals were ahead of its time. Absolutely. Double O's visuals are some of the best you'll ever see in any anime. You watch the intro and you think that came out like last year. It's unbelievable how good Double O's visuals are. Absolutely agree. Also in the final battle, all the weapons at hand had already appeared in the story. Even the concept of exploding Sakurada had already been used when Lucius tore the JLF and Vleda got shot. Yeah, absolutely. Everything in the show that you see was set up at some point. It's just the next, stage, next evolvement of it. That's not contrivance or bad writing. It's just the next stage of evolution. We know Rockshot and Lloyd are brilliant. We know they're improving their nightmare frames all the time. I mean, does Giga even remember that in R1 they were constantly upgrading the Lancelot? Remember they first gave the float unit and the Varus cannon? They were always adding new things to it. That's not even a new development. That's so strange. Okay. Playing devil's advocate, Lloyd did claim for the wings at first until Cecile corrected him. Yeah, but don't you think... But that wasn't the same... I see what you're saying there, but, wasn't that in the same sentence? It wasn't like Lloyd said, I made the wings. 10 minutes later, Cecile's like, no, they were my wings. It was more like, I did this, and then Cecile's like, no, I made the wings. And then Rakshan's like, later on, what did they do? Why did they put Cecile's wings on my nightmare frame? And if you want to go even before that, Cecile has a scene where, I guess Giga didn't watch it, she gets really embarrassed. It's actually kind of adorable, and she says, we got really tied up with work, and I got so busy working on the nightmare frame, we lost track of stuff, my hobby. So no matter how you look at it, the show implied that Cecile and Lloyd worked on the nightmare frame. The wing specifically was Cecile, and they made that clear. That's just being annoying for annoying's sake. I always loved the constant improvements of the nightmare, especially the fact that was left of the Gwen was used to create the Shinkiro, my favorite nightmare frame. Yeah, absolutely agree. Giga's Mega videos are bad. I haven't even watched the one where he discusses why Mega has fallen out of favor and why it's gone or dying. That might be good to check out later. We can always say that Britannia was at war with the EU at the time of R2, and a war military tech is always being worked on to improve and get the upper hand on their enemy. Just tech jump during World War II. Yeah. What's that quote? Lloyd said it. He said war causes the most innovation. I forgot what the actual quote is. Actually, give me a second. I can tell you real quick what it was. If I have it here. Give me 2 seconds here. Let's see. If I can't find it in 2 seconds, I will come back to the comments. It was... here it is. You know what they say? War is the mother of invention. There you go. Okay. That's exactly it. Agreed. By leaps and bounds, each side tried to one-up each other. Yep, that was basically, the Lancelot versus the Gurren, the GIGGUK'S and Akatsuki versus the Gareths, right? I mean, this is... If you want to question everything, they question everything. Don't just look at one thing or another. It's... don't be so focused on just, the Gurren and the Lancelot's upgrades. You notice that every other nightmare frame got better, too. It was, a constant improvement. Odysseus was such an inactive character despite being the second in line. They might as well have hatched Nigel in second in line. Plus, Odysseus was a major creep for trying to marry Tianzi. Yeah. They weren't going to do anything. It was for political reasons, but I definitely agree. Makes you wonder what Giga would think of Gundam Seed, which is a lot of ways to prototype to Code Geass. Well, nowadays he probably would hate it, considering he doesn't like Code Geass now in his last... he talked about trash taste. I was referring to Charles in the first line. I guess you guys are having a private conversation there. Okay. I mean, Lelouch got to pilot a Nightmare that had a defense shield that needs a high intellect to calculate. That's true. I love what a big cast of the great characters Code Geass has. However, R2 had so many characters that most of them got sidelined, except for Lelouch, Suzaku, C2 Charles, and Schneisel. Wars and father invention. Well, I found mother, but it's the same kind of thing. Has anyone seen Variant Mode Naruto? I'm not sure what that is. I got the sense that Cecile had a crush on Lloyd and R2 because she seemed to be blushing when she said that she and Lloyd had been distracted by it with their work. No, Cecile loves Suzaku. There's a picture drama that talks about it. I don't want to go into that. But that's the thing. I don't know. I still think he likes Code Geass. He just hasn't had a high opinion of it. Well, I should say, yeah, that's probably it. I mean, he liked the end of R2. That hasn't changed. His trash taste video, he said the show had a lot of problems, but R2's ending was great. That's true. Okay. Let's continue on here. So the Nightmare Frame stuff he discussed, he does say, I'll give the guy his due. He says early on, before he even goes into the critique, it's all personal preference when it comes to Nightmare Frame. So at least he's acknowledging the fact this is not a objectively terrible thing in Code Geass. It's more like, I don't like it. So at least that's fair. Still not good critiques though. And some of this is based on a misunderstanding of the story, which is the worst things you can do. You can say I don't like how something was done, but for God's sakes, at least understand how it was done to begin with.
That destroyed all enemy nightmares in a single bloody shot. Did any tactics matter in the Tokyo battle when in the end Callan appears out of nowhere and wipes out everyone thanks to the enemy conveniently leaving the keys right next to the Gurren for her to use? Exactly. Point 2.
Okay, one thing I want to mention about this, I've seen our co discuss this as well. Okay, Callan coming to save everyone. They were actually going to win. They were going to win the battle without Callan. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Toto break free to the Avalon? They were going to take it down anyway. So it wasn't like Callan saved, like what was going to win the battle for them. I think they were going to win it anyways without Callan. All Callan did was she saved Lelouch before Bradley was going to kill him. That was her big moment, was rescuing Lelouch. And she took out one Nightmare Frame, sure. But given the current state of the battle, Lelouch looked like they were going to win that one. They took out the much of Schneisel's fleet, and they got right to the Avalon. So I'm not sure if Callan being there was entirely necessary. It helped a lot, don't get me wrong, but... And he also ignores the fact that the flare was fired afterwards. So Schneisel had already prepared for something going wrong. Like he's saying that they used the Gurren to, win the battle by wiping all the Nightmare Frames out. But did you forget that the flare, ended that battle? Oh, man. I don't want to think about this more because it's driving me crazy. Okay, so the keys being left out, I agree. There are a couple of defense that I have. I don't have too many. I do agree that was kind of horribly done. But here's my main defense. As far as I know, no one could drive the Gurren except for Callan. She was, in captivity and probably scheduled for execution a while ago. So it wasn't like they had anything to worry about her. That's probably it. Because they said, what was it the before 16? They said no one can actually. It's not usable right now, which I always interpret as like the Nightmare Frame could fly, but no one would be capable to fly it. So Callan was the one who could pilot it. It's not the Shenhe where only Shinkai could pilot it because it was so complicated to use. So I imagine the Gurren was the same. So leave the keys out, like no one's gonna use it anyways. So it's not like if they didn't anticipate Callan would get in there and take the Nightmare Frame. Also, let's be honest, Lloyd and Cecile are not exactly the smartest people when it comes to common sense things. They're both very spacey, right? And the other thing too about the whole that whole core unit, no one takes them seriously for some reason, especially in R1. They're like, a unit here to help out. What's the unit? It's Special Corps. Why are they here? Who called them? It wasn't like the Corps is like this very no one takes them that serious in the show anyway. Definitely to their detriment. But those are a couple of thoughts I have about the whole keys being left out scenario with that. Okay.
Character consistency. There are many complex characters in Code Geass, and all the character development in Season 1 was nicely planned out. But in Season 2, characters seem to change at the drop of a hat, with people doing a complete 180 on their ideals and natures, and changing themselves for the convenience of the plot rather than an actual convincing reason. Let's take the relationship between the...
Okay, so which characters did this? I'm trying to yes, Detard switched sides like the Big Show, but given who he is as a character, it made sense to me because he always wanted to film like the story. He wants to film the change of the world. If Lelouch couldn't be the one to do that, then he'd go to Schneisel. So to me, that's not inconsistent. Shinkei joined Lelouch because he was going to help out Tianzi and also help Chinese Federation destroy the High Eunuchs. So he only joined them because they had a mutual enemy. That's not really consistent. Schneisel didn't change dramatically. I'm trying to think anyone else who changed on a hat for plot convenience. I mean, yeah, I guess everything is written up to happen in a certain way, but I'm not sure if that's what you were implying. Any other characters who had a sudden change? Suzaku has gone through a lot, but given what happened of turn 18, his change to fight against Charles made sense, because he basically became a sinner. He's like, yeah, I'm going to kill people now, because look, that's who I am. I'm not going to fight anymore. So that was a change, but I wouldn't call it plot convenience change. It was more like a, people get changed because of traumatic events. He just killed Charles. He just killed millions of people. And from the guy who wants to save people, he just killed more. He killed more people than maybe the war itself. So you can understand why that messed up someone's psyche. So that didn't bother me. I'm thinking all the characters that had changed their thing on top of a hat. I guess C2, but she wanted to die really badly, and then Lelouch convinced her not to, and so she decided to save his life. Well, Lelouch convinced her not to do it. I mean, that happens all the time. People always... How many times in life are you so, this is like a Orlea situation, or something that I can relate to. How many times in life are you about to do something, you're so determined you're going to do it, and you back out last minute for whatever reason? It's pretty common. I mean, I'll give you an example. This one makes sense, but it still applies. If you're going to go on a roller coaster ride, and you're staying in line for hours because, Six Flags sucks, although maybe now it's better because of the pandemic. I don't know if that's true or not, but you're waiting in line for hours, and you finally get to the roller coaster. And this actually happened to me one time. I went on one roller coaster. Before they put the thing in to keep the lock me there, I got out and left. I just didn't want to do it. I was so determined, an hour in the line, but I got out and left. I don't know why. I didn't feel it, so I left. So this to say that'd be plot convenient. I don't know. He's gonna give an example, but if I see a lot of videos, they'll say the show does X, Y, or Z. Gives one example. It's well, that doesn't really prove anything. But we're gonna get to that in just a second here.
Lelouch and Rolo, for example.
Apart from his Geass, he's nothing to me. I'll use you up and then throw you away like a piece of trash. My funeral offering to Shirley will be Rolo's life. He will atone for what he did to her. You think you could ever replace Nonali in my heart? You're an imposter! I hate you. I loathe you. I despise you. I've been trying to kill you, but I just keep missing the chance. I said get out! No, stop using your Geass like that! Do you want to die? Just what I'd expect of my little brother.
That's right. I thought so. Because I know who you really are.
It's morphin' time! Your big brother is just a liar. Thank you, Rolo.
This big change of heart happens in about 10 minutes, and this type of complete transformation seems to be scattered everywhere in the series. We all know Suzaku is a goody two-shoe who never strays away from his ideals, and will always try to change the system from the inside, and... Wait, what was that he always said?
And any ends gained through contemptible means aren't worth anything. Results gained through contemptible means are worthless.
Yeah, that's the one. So we all know he would never do anything to...
No, I've been naive.
Oh my god. This is the worst part of this video. Oh, wow. Okay. You know what Giga is missing in these videos? You know what he's missing? It's called context. What's the context of the scene? If you don't discuss the context, then obviously it looks like it's inconsistent. Do you know what the context of these scenes are? Let's go to the first one he didn't understand, okay? Alright. Lelouch at this point lost nunnally. He doesn't want to live anymore. His attitude in life is much different than it was 10 minutes ago. And Lelouch is very... When Lelouch lashed out against Rollo in the in Karuga, he wasn't really angry. Like, don't get me wrong, he hates Rollo because he killed Shirley, which he acknowledges is really his own fault anyways. He screwed up there. But the problem is that not only was dead, he was just pissed off. So he lashed out against anybody. If anyone was in that room, he would have lashed out against them too. Remember when he attacked C2 when she lost her memories? When Charles came back and he was angry? Lelouch has a temper tantrum, and he lets people have it. Doesn't matter who it is. He screamed at Rollo, and I don't think he meant everything he said there. That's the first point. That was the worst time to get Lelouch, because he completely lost at that point and let Rollo have it. Did he hate Rollo? Sure. Now let's get to this scene here that he doesn't like. Lelouch at this point is depressed. He lost Null. He's nothing left to live for. He doesn't want Rollo to do this because he's confused why he's doing it in the first place. And he's telling him, don't do it because you're going to die. Yes, he's concerned that Rollo could die here. Why? Because again, his mental situation is a little different. Okay, he went from someone who wanted to die and Rollo denied him that, and now he's confused as to why he's doing this. And Rollo, of course, felt bad and wanted to save his life. So if everything was the same in terms of Lelouch's mental state before and afterwards, then you could argue this is definitely inconsistent. But again, at this point in the show, he's super depressed, and he's thinking about things differently now that he's all alone. So his emotions are all over the place.
And you Geass like that! Do you want to die?
Just what I'd expected, Mike.
Now this part here, there's one way to interpret this scene. Okay, Rollo's about to die. Lelouch is evil, I guess. He does stuff that's pretty bad. I'll eventually get to that in my video. Don't worry, I'll get to that at some point. But he's at least he's not a jerk, and he's trying to comfort Rollo before he dies. This was a nice thing to do. It has nothing to do with him. Even he hated Rollo here. Given what Rollo just did for him, he gave him the courtesy to say, "Yeah, my little brother, I feel bad for you." He was a nice gesture, of kindness before he died. Given everything that happened, because again, it's very possible Lelouch realized at this point that it was really his fault that Rollo killed Shirley, because it was. He neglected her forever. He made Rollo completely dependent on him, and therefore, when you bring up Shirley, he got a little upset about that. Rollo did. So this whole notion that he was angry, it was more like he was angry at himself. That's how I interpreted Lelouch's rage against Rollo. It was more like his hatred towards himself. And this scene here, he probably kind of let it go. He was like, you know what? It's really me who screwed up. That's why this whole scene is so powerful, because he wanted to die. Then he took accountability for what happened, and that's when Zero Requiem happens. And he stops the Ragnarok connection and saves the world. This whole scene is actually one of the more powerful in the series, and Giga is completely ignoring it, which is so frustrating to me because, or not understanding it. That's how I interpret this scene. Because otherwise, yes, if you don't have the context behind why this happened, you'd be like, yeah, that makes no sense. Like, I get what Giga was saying. Like, I mean, he hated him, now he likes him. How does that work? Well, what happened between those events? That's why this is kind of dumb.
My little brother.
And then this.
10 minutes, and this type of place inside.
Anything
So we all know.
up till now.
No, you?
Stubbornly maintaining that the means are more important than the end result. What matters are results.
Do not facepalm from... Isn't it The Melancholy of Haru Mitazuya? I just said that wrong, but that was the character from that show. Again, what happened before this episode? He just killed millions of people, and he was messed up. He was literally laughing at the Ground Zero. That's why he did what he did, because you can't hold to ideals of justice and saving people when you just murdered millions of individuals. You can't keep that same mindset anymore, because it doesn't work. Your ideals failed. That's why he changed, because he can't. He'd be a hypocrite otherwise. That's why he had to change his ideals to be more gain the results. He also, again, he lost his mind. He kind of lost it a little bit. He wanted to save people, and he killed lots of others. So he took accountability and said, you know what, look, I tried to save people's lives. It was a good idea. It didn't work. So the only solution I have left is I'm going to become the Knight of Zero. I'm going to kill Charles. Schneider looks like a good leader. I'll put him in charge, and things will go back, and things will improve slowly. Yeah, that's what happened there. It's not really inconsistent given the context of the scene, and that's the important part. What happened between before the scene and after the scene? Characters don't just change on the dime in Code Geass. Something dramatic happens to get them to change their point of view, which again, is very realistic in real life. You can probably point to many parts in your life where something happened, and all of a sudden, you do something differently. Was your life a poorly written story? No, that's just how it goes. No context here.
Brilliant. And I could go on all day about Suzaku's instant alliance with Lelouch at the end of the series. I mean, sure, Lelouch, maybe you have tried to kill me on several occasions, made the only woman I've ever loved slaughter hundreds of my own people, and then shoot her in cold blood, but fuck that shit! We're BFFs, right, so let's all go sing Kumbaya and dance in the fucking meadow. Point 3.
Okay. I've seen people make this point, and it drives me insane, okay? Here's why it drives me insane. Do you want to know why Suzaku joined Lelouch? Because Lelouch said the following: we're going to make everyone forget about the Princess Massacre. That's why he joined him. He joined him because he was going to change the world. And remember, in, Turn 17, Suzaku was saying, I will help you save Nunnally's life, but you have to actually stop the war. And Lelouch is like, yes, we'll work together. That's why Suzaku agreed to do it. Because he wanted Lelouch to actually live up to his name, make people forget about Princess Massacre, and accomplish what he wants. They both wanted to stop the war. That was the purpose of them working together. I'm very confused with this complaint because it makes sense to me why the two work together. And by the way, Suzaku was like, there are several scenes in the Zero Dawn Zero Requiem where he attacked Lelouch. Like, remember when, what was it? Nunnally, she was revealed to be alive and Lelouch freaked out. And Suzaku was like, remember your promise. And he throws him to the floor, or I think he throws him to the floor and then says, remember your promise, and walks out. Suzaku is pissed off at Lelouch, okay? Just because they're working together to accomplish a goal, it doesn't mean that he's completely forgiven him for everything he has done. They're not like BFFs. They are pretty close. And yes, he does cry at the end because it was pretty dramatic what was going on. But to act like it didn't make any sense, did you... I'm not sure how to go further with this. I mean, I thought the show explained that Lelouch was going to make everyone forget about Princess Massacre, how he was going to die for this too, which, again, that's atonement right there. And Suzaku gets to end the war and, Japan will be free. I mean, isn't that what they all wanted? They all worked for the same goal. I don't know. I thought that made sense. Okay. Let's go through a couple comments here. He still said he would give R1 an 8. Was that in the trash taste? Okay, you know what? Maybe he did. I wonder what he gives R2 now. Cecile having a crush on Suzaku is cute, if a little awkward. Suzaku was 18, and Cecile never flirts with him, so she remains a likable, non-creepy character. Yeah, that's the thing about the romance between Suzaku and Cecile. It's never like they showed it in a picture drama, and that's it. Like they never really. Beyond that, they have no moments together. There's like 2 picture dramas where Suzaku and Cecile have some interaction that could possibly be romantic, but it's one-sided. But it wasn't developed well. They could have done a better job if they wanted to throw that into the story. Cecile is so nice, but she must be banned from any kitchen in the world. Yep, she's the Orihime of Code Geass. The Black Knights changed a lot. They went from adoring Zero to turning against him. The fact that they listen to Schneider despite knowing he's a bad guy shows their lack of intelligence. I'm not sure if it's intelligence. I would say it's more on the line of they they were thinking emotionally and not logically when they decided to work with Schneisel against Lelouch. That's what I would probably say instead of that's what it is. They were thinking emotionally, not logically. And they also were betrayed too. I mentioned, you'll see my video tomorrow, but I mentioned how because Lelouch didn't make certain things clear with the Black Knight, some of his action he caused a lot of dissension in the group, specifically with the Holy Swords and Toto. So, not Toto, Ogi. Toto is part of the Holy Swords. That's why they had the problems with Lelouch, because he did certain actions that caused dissension. So it was that turn 19 was a ticking time bomb that was going to go off eventually at some point. So it's not like it was a big, like a dramatic change. It was more like slowly we were getting to this point. Just to point that out there. He completely misunderstood us. Agreed. It's called character growth. Giga. Agreed. He hated Raw even before the Shirley thing. Yeah, that's true. He did, because he was Nunnally's replacement. He hated his whole existence in the first place. True. Banty's here from the kitchen. Agreed. Temper trap. That's like a little tame. It's more like a total mental breakdown. Well, that was a mental breakdown. I remember when he hit C2, that was a temper tantrum. Lucius is crazy in general. He always freaks out in Code Geass. You could do a whole compilation of Lucius freaking out. So yeah, he's not mentally sane all the time. He's kind of crazy. Let's keep it real here. He's kind of crazy. He even said after he was just a liar, so he was basically lying. Yeah, Lucius does that a lot too. I wish that Shirley had lived and had gotten a chance to be a Black Knight. How cool would that have been? She works with Lelouch, they get married and they work together or something. Like he becomes emperor and she's his wife. That would have been a cool way to have Zero Requiem. That she's actually with him the whole time as his wife. That would have been kind of interesting. Never happened though. I guess Lelouch's feelings about Roland in the end were quite mixed. He must have both detested and felt pity for him. Right, and in my mind, I think he also felt responsible for those actions over Rollo, since he manipulated Rollo to do those things. It wasn't like Rollo, he acted on his own, which caused problems, but given how Lelouch mentally used him, it was kind of Lelouch's fault. And I think when he was talking to him and smiling, I think he realized he let it go because of that. Again, he also just lost his sister, or at least he thought he did, and the Black Knights, and he thought he was going to die. So, things happen in traumatic events. It's not like this was like a simple conversation walking down the street with Rollo, and I was like, you know what, even though I hate you for the whole show, I'm going to change on a dime because, hey, why not, That's not what happened. That's what GIGGUK'S almost implying here, and that's the problem with the point. Continue on here. In that moment, Sako finally realized how hypocritical he had been till then. Right, and also that his ideas wouldn't work anymore. Until then, Zaku didn't kill too many people. In fact, if you watch R1, he spends most of his time disabling nightmare frames, not destroying them. So, if he doesn't actually need to, if he can't, or if he can avoid killing, he will do it. Now, one thing I want to mention too, since we're on top of Suzaku and killing people and going against his ideals, in the end of R1, he was going to kill a lot. He was going to kill Zero. So, and he was really pissed off then too. So it's not the first time he went AWOL from his own beliefs. But yeah, I mean, at the point, once the flare was fired, Zaku had nothing else. He had no leg to stand on at that point. He had to go to the next level or go back on what he believed, because you can't hold those ideals and do what you just did. So he said, you know what? I've already killed some people. I'm going to double down on that to free Japan. I tried it my way, it didn't work, I gotta do another way. That's really it in a nutshell. That's how I interpret that scene. Again, it wasn't like he just decided to change on a dime. Something dramatically happened. I think the Million Rebels didn't need to be in R2. They weren't very important. No, they were not important. I completely agree. I mean, what did Millie do? She offered more fan service in the story, and she became a weather girl. It's important that she got into the news, because they use her later on, but that's it. I completely agree with that one. Also, they're not exactly friends. Before, he cares more about the Zero Requiem than Lucius' life. Even when he cried when he killed him. Yeah, exactly. They weren't just friends for sake of friendship. They were working together for a certain goal, and Suzaku was still pissed at Lucius through most of that Zero Requiem. He was upset because, again, let's say, for sake of argument, that he still hated Lelouch when he stabbed him. He's still crying because they were good friends when they were younger. So it still means something to him. He lost a brother. So it's still important or upsetting that he died. Although, given the Resurrection movie, it looks like they kind of patched things up. Although he beats the crap out of Lelouch, though. So it's not like he still, he still hated him. Then he let it go. Lelouch and Suzaku had an obsessive love-hate relationship. No matter what happened, they couldn't stop thinking about each other. Yeah, Lelouch always can count on Suzaku to help out, not only or just in general. That's true. Suzaku was always Lelouch's ace in the hole, no matter what happened. So that's very true. Okay, let's continue on with the video.
Plot twists. Anyone who's seen Code Geass knows that it has a hard-on for plot twists and tries to end every episode in one. And while in Season 1 every episode left me wanting more, the twists in Season 2 were a bit more hit and miss, with some keeping me on the edge of my seat while the others being just utterly retarded. It was all
Okay, and which ones were retarded?
nice and dandy for the first few episodes, but after this scene I started to worry a bit.
All of them.
This is outrageous! Zero has appeared, but not as expected. That is... So this was your plan. Despite our overwhelming firepower, you figured a way to move 1 million people. Time to get exiled, everybody! We're all Zero, so we're all out of here! That's right, I'm Zero! Let's get deported! I'm Zero too! Come on! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
And things only got worse when they tried to explain the Geass aspect of the show, with the whole sort of Akasha business and then the whole Charles and Marianne actually trying to protect Lelouch by sending him to Japan business, which has so many plot holes you can fly a jumbo fucking jet through them. And then there's the whole Lelouch controlling God business, and I really could go on. In the end, the problem I had with the plot twist is that the series seemed to have this because I told you so attitude about it. Marianne spontaneously
Okay, alright. There's a lot to discuss here. Okay, let's go through the... So, are these all... Okay. So the Zero thing, I do agree, was kind of weird.
dandy for the first...
Appeared. Firepower, you figured a way to move 1 million people. Time to get exiled, everybody! Two, come on!
The Spartacus scene, it's kind of funny. I had no problems with the whole costume. The only thing I didn't understand was not the fact that they got the island, the Chinese Federation island, to transport 1 million people. How they get 1 million costumes is always kind of odd to me. I assume maybe they mass-produced them. That's something I always was confused about. The fact that they transported 1 million people was, I mean, I guess the technology supports it. I don't know, I never thought about it as a problem when I first watched it. I guess maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know. I was like, I mean, I assume they got the materials to put together, so it's okay, I guess.
And things only got worse when they tried to explain the Geass aspect of the show, with the whole sort of Akasha business and then the whole Charles and Marianne actually trying to protect Lelouch by sending him to Japan business, which has so many plot holes you can fly.
Okay. Right. Okay. How to go through these points here? Okay. So Charles sent Lelouch back to protect him. That is true. To the Japan to protect him from V2. That was his major plan. That's true. There is some plot holes. I agree. I'm not sure if it's worth discussing all the things he mentioned here in full detail. The best thing I can say about this is that R2 had less episodes, and this is one area where they needed more episodes to explain what was going on. I definitely agree with that. In terms of what the Sword of Akasha was they're going to do with that, the Ragnarok connection, I thought given the time they had, they explained it as best they could, which was to basically unite the living with the dead to create an endless existence of everyone gets to be everyone else. They don't explain what that world would look like, but that's what they were trying to do, and that was the plan Charles had in mind. The problem I have with the whole sending Lelouch to Japan and protecting him was the fact that not only was almost married off to Genbu, which was kind of odd, so they were protecting Lelouch, but he was also hunted and used as political tools. So were they really protecting him? Yes, that's kind of odd to me. Also, Charles can talk to anyone in Sarakasha, specifically Clovis, which that unveils a bunch of other plot holes, which is that I will agree. This wasn't fully explained, but does it like ruin? This is the thing you gotta ask yourself: does it ruin the story? Right? And that I didn't ruin it for me, but I will agree there were certain parts that were not explained. The whole thing, though, they said for the million zeros, I didn't see a problem with it. To me, given how crazy Code Geass can get, that was just, already in my mind, just like, so I watch shows that have ridiculous things, I can kind of in my mind figure out how we got to this point, and as long as I can rationalize it in my head, I don't have an issue with it. That's why I never cared about the million zeros. Yes, all the Sarakasha wasn't handled correctly. We needed more time. Charles' plan, yes, it was kind of over the place. I think the biggest issue with that is they were trying to protect Lelouch, but they put him in like a middle of a war zone. But they also were upset with. They didn't care that he was doing the whole Black Rebellion because it didn't matter to them. They were trying to get the Sarakasha ready. But at the same time, though, they wanted C2 for her code. So they obviously did need her, but they didn't need her because they did without her. But they, so yeah, there was definitely some elements that were confusing. There's no doubt. I mean, look, R2 was rushed. When you rush a story, it's what happens. Not all of it was poorly explained, but there definitely were parts that needed more explanation. And one of the frustrating parts of the new films, they didn't actually provide any. So I'm not gonna completely hate him on this point because he's right. This was a little confusing. It could have handled better. But there's something else he mentioned after this, which
Fly a jumbo fucking jet through them. And then there's the whole Lelouch controlling God business, and I really could go on.
Lelouch controlling God. That's not actually what happened, because he asked God to not stop time. Did he control God? See, we don't know. This is an example where it's not clearly stated. It's not clear what happened here. Did he tell God to stop time, or did God honor his request? Right? He has like a wish, right? He wished that God would not stop time. Given that the collective unconscious or consciousness controls Geass, as far as I understand this, I think if it didn't want to stop time, it wouldn't have stopped time. Or, right, if it didn't want to, we do it on its own, that's what I meant to say. We know in Untitled Exile, it has like a form, that woman. So it's not like Lelouch controlled it. We don't know exactly what happened. This is, again, rushed episodes. So I was always like, is that really what happened? I'm not sure. I know that you can see the Geass symbol on the Jupiter. It's not really Jupiter, but it looks like Jupiter, the planet. And so things change. So did Lelouch really stop time? That's or control God? That remains to be seen. I didn't really see it that way when I watched the show. It more like Lelouch asked, and the God simply said yes. Because then Charles and Marianne were consumed. Was that also Lelouch's doing? I don't think so. I assume that was, again, the collective consciousness deciding to do that. That's why I'm confused as if Lelouch commanded it to God or not, because it acted on its own to consume Charles and Marianne. They had nothing to do with what Lelouch said. That's why it was confusing. Or that's why I don't agree with this point here.
In the end, the problem I had with the plot twist is that the series seemed to have this because I told you so attitude about it. Marianne spontaneously developed a Geass power when she was dying because I told you so. Charles and Marianne were actually trying to protect Lelouch because I told you so. Lelouch is actually a gay, sexually frustrated vampire robot from the future because I told you so. Okay, that isn't actually true, but you get my point. Point 4. This twat.
Alright, hold on. We actually have an explanation for Geass powers awakening in times of danger. For example, Layla's also emerged when she was in trouble. So this is something that they've established in the show. They've explained through other characters. So it's not like this is something that they never had before. Now, granted, Akito came after R2, like this actual era in the show, but still, they have explained that this has happened in multiple characters. So yes, at the time, you could look at it as such, but we have now other examples of characters who have had Geass powers occurred in times of crisis. So it's not like this is completely unknown. If a Geass, I'm not sure if this was Marianne, but if a Geass shard is in your body enough time, you can develop a Geass ability. So that's kind of what happens there. Geass acts differently for different people. They said many times how it works from one person to another is different. So it's not like this is completely not explained in the story. It's just that Marian's ability was convenient, sure, but we know Geass. It goes with your it handles your personality and your who you are. That's how it manifests. So the fact that hers was a if I die, I transfer my mind to someone else. That's just how it was. Again, we have examples of other characters doing this, like Layla, where they have like the power awakening when they could possibly die. So it's not like I told you so. It's more like Geass manifests in different ways, and that's how Geass manifested for Marian. So I don't agree with this take. You don't like the fact that it was power. It was contrived, but just simply say because it's contrived, because they didn't explain her ability. It's not a contrivance to me because they haven't explained how Geass works in the past in terms of how it manifests different abilities. And I'm not going to restate myself like 5 times here. You get the point.
When she was done, because I told you so. Charles and Marianne were actually trying to protect Lelouch because I told you so.
Now, this actually kind of makes a little bit of sense because if V2 killed Marianne, then he probably would also kill the children. So it actually kind of makes sense. If V2 did try to kill Lelouch, so it would have made sense to protect them. There is one contradiction, though, and that was that that V2 captured Nunnally for Charles. So if he wanted to capture Nunnally, then he wouldn't have harmed him? See, that's the confusing part about this, because he got Nunnally for Charles, but he also sent him away to protect them. That part's a little odd to me. See, Lelouch, he tried to kill Lelouch, so that makes sense. But V2 captured Nunnally for Charles and didn't kill her. So if that was always the case, then why did he send them away? So that part I do agree with. That was not handled correctly. Lelouch makes sense. I think V2 would have killed him. But with Nunnally, he didn't. So that's a little odd. So I agree with that one. That's a little odd. That they could have handled that better. They were trying to make Marianne and Charles seem like good people, which good luck with that.
Lelouch is actually a gay. Okay, that isn't actually true, but you get my point. Point 4. This twat. Point 4.
Okay, the Nina hate has this. I'm just kidding. People hate Nina. That makes sense. I will say, defending Nina though, her character development in R2 was actually really good because she realized the errors of her ways and joined Lelouch. And you can argue, no, there's no argument here. Without Nina, Lelouch would not have been able to succeed in Zero Requiem. Her contribution to the plan was just as important as Suzaku's or anyone else's. Her ability to put her anger aside and realize the error of her ways helped Lelouch was actually one of the strongest points in the series. I said in R2, my R2 review, and I'll say it again, it's not a coincidence that you see Nina and Suzaku both at Ground Zero talking. Because these are two characters who had a... After that event, by the way, in Ground Zero, you notice how Suzaku and Nina changed as characters because of that. Nina decided to not work for Schneizel, eventually joins Lelouch to make up for the fact that she killed lots of people, and Suzaku no longer lives by the whole goody two-shoes attitude, change from within, no one, I'm only here to protect people. He realized he can't do that anymore. That whole Ground Zero scene is actually one of the most important in the show. So the whole thing of hating Nina, that's crap. She had a really good character arc in R2. Even if you hate her in R1, R2, she had a very strong change in his story. And even, I've said this too like a billion times now it seems like, but even Keita, who I respect significantly in both the Code Geass fandom and just in general for anime because he's pretty smart, he mentioned too how when it comes to Nina, there's like this weird bias, even though like you could literally claim anyone else has the same problem as her. Like it's very weird. All right, let's move to the comments and we'll get on to the next last point. Almost done with the video. Plus he said in World of Lelouch is boring. Yep, Slocko did say that. Oh, good night, dude. I I missed it there. Thanks for stopping by. If you watch the replay, you'll see that. I find it weird that Cornelia never had a single scene with Charles, even though she's one of his daughters. Well, Charles didn't care about anyone anyways. That's pretty much stated. Do you know that Seaver has a video called the top 20 smartest anime characters? Yeah, did we go over it? I thought we went over this video. I think Ryan ruined my life with it. But wait, Nelly was going to get married to Zaku's dad, Yeah, she was gonna get married, arranged to Genbu. It was kind of weird. Technically, Lucius Geass activated in a time of danger when he first received it, or am I wrong? Yeah, I guess you could argue that it did, right? Because he was gonna die and he used it to on the soldiers. We don't know. That's the thing. Well, the thing about Lucius Geass' ability when he gets it, the thing about Lucius Geass' ability is that he, how do I put this? A lot of things happened at once that we find out later on. If you break it down, like how he was a qualified one to get the Geass power according to Radiant of Darkness. You could argue with Marion that's why it activated when it activated, because Lucius didn't know how to use the Geass ability when he first got it. He just kind of used it. So my assumption is that you're probably right there. That when he first used the power, he didn't know what he was doing because it just activated on its own. That's a good point. I did not think about that, actually. That's a very good point. Well, the marriage law wasn't changed in Code Geass like it is in our world. So the marriage age would be like 12 or 13 as it was back in the 1800s / early 1900s. In fact, there are still parts of the world that will still do this. Yep, that's also true. As much as people hate Nina, she was more plot relevant than Millie Ribble's, Tamaki, Odysseus, and other characters. Absolutely agree. Yeah, so I'm sorry, man. I know, right? I'm just saying, like, you know, that video was awful. I thought we went over Watch Mojo's smartest anime characters. Was it Watch Mojo's? Oh, you know what? I think you're right. Let's be honest, though. It's all the same crap. It's the same spam.
5. Seriously, am I the only one who hates Nina this much? I mean, Shinji Ikari could drop kick a kitten into an orphan's face, and she would still be a more hated fictional character.
No, everyone hates Nina, dude. Like, everyone does. Well, not everyone, but, like, her hatred is... Like, Seaweed made an article I went over many, many months ago, and it was like, who was the most hated character in Code Geass? It was like Nina Suzaku. So, no, it's... Nina's character was created to be hated. And that's why you hate her, because you're supposed to. It was well done on the designers, on the character. That was the purpose of her character. It was to hate her. So no, dude, you're doing what the show intended.
Than him, Sakura, Ash, Taya from Yu-Gi-Oh!, the entire cast.
Wait, Taya from Yu-Gi-Oh! What's wrong with Taya from Yu-Gi-Oh? Wow. I like Taya from Yu-Gi-Oh! I know in the 4K's dub they kind of ruined her because, you know, it was a 4Kids dub, but that's not her fault. I never hated Taya from Yu-Gi-Oh! That's a bad take right there. Sakura's annoying in Naruto, but actually she gets better in Naruto Shippuden. But yeah, in Naruto she's kind of annoying. I agree.
Sakura, Ash, Taya from Yu-Gi-Oh!, the entire cast of Inuyasha.
I've never seen Inuyasha, so I don't know if it was good or bad.
And Kanye West's ego.
Wow, Kanye West jokes, huh?
Well, I could go on describing the usual faults that everyone else has, i.e. the excessive fan service, the filler episode, and the cameraman being completely incapable of pointing anywhere apart from Matt Callan's arse whenever she is on screen. But if these were my only gripes for the show, then I probably wouldn't have minded as much. Overall, the show just felt rushed, which was disappointing because the first season felt so well planned out. You can see how the writers wanted to end it, since it has a bloody brilliant ending, but they obviously didn't plan the means to get there, which resulted in inconsistent character development and some borderline retarded plot twists. Don't get me wrong, despite everything I said, I didn't hate the season. I'm just disappointed because I really wanted to like it. Because of this, I had a hard time deciding what score to give R2, since there were some truly 5-star moments in the beginning and ending, while the middle was just a big letdown. But let's hope this announcement of a new Code Geass project will make me forget about all my frustrations in the season and... Okay, wait a minute, what the fuck is this? I'll give this anime a 7 out of 10.
Okay, alright, so you mentioned the fan service. By the way, here's the Millie scene that we were talking about before.
Fan service, the filler episode.
There isn't like... The thing about Code Geass, in their filler episodes, they do exist, but they tend to have like a plot-relevant element to it. It's not pure filler. Because, like in this episode, for example, we learn about V2 and how he's the one who gave Charles the Geass power, I believe, and, well, his name, I should say. So it's not like it's complete filler. But I know what he's saying. And I will definitely agree that they shouldn't have had the filler and they should have focused more on the show. And yes, it was rushed. Most of the complaints were the rush parts.
And the cameraman being completely incapable of pointing anywhere apart from Matt Callan's arse whenever she...
Yes, Colin is probably... See, this is what they use Colin for in Code Geass. This is not what they should have used her for in R2. I do agree. They should have not done that. It's
His
kind
on
of annoying.
screen, but if these were my only gripes with the show, then I probably wouldn't have minded as much. Overall, the show just felt rushed, which was disappointing.
I like how he says the show felt rushed, and he shows the Knights of the Round literally the worst casualty of the rushed part of the story. Because, I mean, let's look at these characters, right? Suzaku, obviously, plenty of character development and time with Gino and Anya and Bismarck. But Nadiet, Monica, and Bradley, almost like, well, these two, almost nothing. No, Nadia, we get absolutely nothing. With Monica, we get a couple lines here and there. Bradley, we get a couple episodes of action. You don't even see Dorothy in here, Dorothea. She's not even shown here. God, how depressing is that? She's not even listed among the Knights of the Realm members. It's like she doesn't even exist. So, so there is that. I mean, that's like, I think if you want to show one image that describes the rushed plot in Code Geass R2, this would be it. Now, before we continue, I got to change my battery because remember how last time it screwed up on me. So give me a second here. I want to change my battery, and then we will continue. Give me a second here. Where is it? Do I not know how to use this? Ah, here we go. Okay. I will be right back. Okay, we should be back now. Let me share my screen again. Yes, I know. Okay. Okay, we're back. All right. Thanks for your patience. While some Knights of the Round were underused, Anya, Gino, Bismarck were really good side characters. Knights of the Round got a lot of development as a reflection. Yes, that's why they should animate as a reflection. Guys, 10-year plan. Animate as a reflection. Maybe some of the remaining Knights rounds will appear in future Code Geass projects. Well, since some are dead, I don't know how it's going to happen, but, we'll see about that. Why does it always show up here? It's so annoying. Okay. But I'm just saying, Knights of the Round, they weren't really utilized, especially Nadia and Monica. And you don't even see Dorothea here. That's how important she is in the story. AKA, she isn't.
Pointing because the first season felt so well planned out. You can see how the writers wanted to end it, since it has a bloody brilliant ending, but they obviously didn't plan the means to get there, which resulted in inconsistent character development and some borderline retarded plot twists. Don't get me wrong, despite everything I said, I didn't hate the season. I'm just disappointed because I really wanted to like it. Because of this, I had a hard time.
Wait, hold on a second. Is this a contradiction? Maybe I'm mishearing this.
Didn't hate the season. I'm just disappointed because I really wanted to like it.
I didn't hate the season only because I really want to like it. Or really like it. So you liked it, but not really liked it. Okay. I guess it's not a contradiction. It's kind of weird the way he worded it. It's like saying, I didn't want to kill you, but I didn't want you to live either. So it's like, which is it, man? Those are contradictory statements.
Because of this, I had a hard time deciding what score to give R2, since there were some truly 5-star moments in the beginning and ending, while the middle was just a big letdown. But let's hope this announcement of a new Code Geass project will make me forget about all my frustrations in the season and... Okay, wait a minute, what the fuck is this?
This is Renya of Darkness. So, yeah, this is C2, this is Renya, and that's Dash. So don't say what the heck is this. Look into it, man. And Renya's cool. The story was not well done, but yeah. 2010, huh? So long ago.
I'll give this anime a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I know not everyone agree with me, but it should be interesting to see which of my subscribers can take criticism towards their favorite show. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Okay. Yeah, he said he didn't hate it. I know. I'm just saying it's just weird how he really wanted to like it, but because it didn't live with those expectations, he didn't. He was disappointed with it, which is fine. I was disappointed too. I had a very my review was also very negative too against R2, but it was more positive though because the things that were good were really good. His point was the middle kind of sucked. The beginning had some issues, and the ending was really good. I don't think the middle sucked. I just think it went in directions maybe he didn't like. You know, a lot of the problems with R2 are very preference based. The ending wasn't because that was a lot of things over the place. He also tagged his audience too, which is weird. He's like, if you guys can take criticism, then leave, which is fine. You know, if you want to take a stance on stuff, that's totally fine. I can definitely take crazy. I mean, I'm subscribed to GIGGUK'S, so I've been subscribed to him for, well, not this channel, but on my older channel. I've been subscribed for a long time, so I don't really care if he hates Code Geass or not. At this point, Code Geass has entered into the point where it's like, it's so popular, you're almost obligated to hate it. Like Death Note. It's so popular, you're obligated to hate it at this point because it's just too good. I think My Hero Academia is entering into that domain. SEO entered that domain. Maybe Attack on Titan also, so it happens with most popular anime. It becomes so good that you have to hate it. The end score and the total is confusing me. Does he mean only R2 or Geass in general? I think he means R2. When he says that. You're right, that's a good point. He said R1 he is like an 8 and this is a 7, so that's fine. I give both R1 and R2 a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I did too. I've considered changing my score for R2 because I don't think it's a perfect masterpiece like I thought it was when I first watched it. Some stuff he said here, I didn't disagree with him. It was a rush job. R2 was supposed to be a lot more episodes, and they even kind of messed up certain, like, it's called R2 because I believe they were going to do something else with it, so they had to change up the whole plot line. I read a whole theory about this. Like, the original direction of the show changed after R1. That's why certain parts didn't make any sense. How about Code Geass? By the way, I love your name, Herod King. That's incredible. How about Code Geass Lush of the Resurrection? Lush of the Resurrection. My score? I like that movie. I said in my review that it was like very fan service heavy, but given what, like, here's the thing, right? I wrote a whole article about this. I won't make a video because I don't think anyone's gonna watch it, given my contact, the content I make on this channel. I don't do a lot of anime 101 stuff. I want to, but again, I want to be able to watch it too. Yeah, I know how YouTube works. But anyways, in the article I wrote, I said if you're gonna watch a show or a movie, whatever it is, anime or otherwise, you should lower your expectations before going in because it's never gonna live up to them. I know it's a very negative point of view to have, but it actually is very positive because if you don't expect much from the show, then it can really surprise you in ways you wouldn't expect. I'll give you an example, right? When I first started watching 00, I thought it would be kind of crappy because it looks kind of stupid. But it actually was really good and impressed me. And it's one of my favorite shows of all time because I wasn't expecting okay, people like it, whatever, we'll see what happens. And it actually was a really good show. And the same goes with, like Code Geass Lush of the Resurrection. I went to it, you don't see the background there. I went to Lush of the Resurrection with the idea that, look, they're bringing back the characters together, Don't expect the craziest plot ever. You're probably going to see some Nightmare Frame action, see some Geass powers. That's what you're here for. It's like the Expendables or Trigun Rumble, Badlands Rumble. You know what you're going in for. It's a movie. You can't do a whole lot in a movie. So don't, understand what you're watching and what you're not. It's the same thing with like the Bleach films. Like Diamond Dust Rebellion is my favorite Bleach film. Is it the best plot? No, but I went in because I wanted to see fan service. And the Diamond Dust Rebellion is fan service. So as long as you know what you're getting into or what you expect to see from the show and you don't expect a whole lot, you're going to enjoy it. That's why I like Lucifer Resurrection. There are other parts that make no sense. Sure, things could be explained better. I don't care though, because I want to see Luge come back to life. And that's all that matters. I wanted to see more Nightmare Frame action. I wanted to see more Geass powers. That's all I cared about. So I was very pleasantly surprised by the film, and I enjoyed it. That's why. I don't go most nowadays when someone says something is really good, I assume it won't be good, and then I end up liking it. It's a negative point of view, but I've liked so many shows since changing my mindset. I mean, it's much better than going to a show and saying, this is the greatest thing ever. You go in and you're like, it's kind of bad. Am I like weird? I'm not liking it. I don't like doing it that way. But obviously I'm up for getting a mind change. But that's my perspective on it. Okay. At the time he gave a 10 to R and R2 a 7. Now he gave R1 an 8. Okay, got it. Code Geass for PlayStation 2 is amazing. Isn't that Lost Colors? I've never played it, but I'm guessing it's pretty good. Before I watched Code Geass, I knew who the main characters were, but I didn't know what the plot was. So I was very surprised. So the Resurrection really was good with a great CGI animation. Yeah, they improved the CGI for sure since Akito the Exiled. Monster, which is right here. When I watched the show, I didn't read the what's it called? The synopsis. I had no idea what the story was about, and I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't know it was like... I think I knew it was like Death Note, but I didn't know exactly why. So, it wasn't like... I wasn't expecting Monster. I didn't know Monster was a really good series before I watched it, and I was like, oh my god, it's so good. So sometimes I don't even read the synopsis. I just don't want to find out. Don't want to get spoiled. I want a happy ending. Well, we did get one of the Resurrection, so that's true. The Resurrection movie gets my respect for all the Luge and C2 ship teas. The original anime still has the best mecha animation, though. Yeah, that's true. Well, sort of. I mean, yeah. But with the CGI, though, you can make the fights more intense. So it's like I have mixed feelings on that. Since we're here, I want to watch this video because we've been talking about it for a while now. We're gonna discuss it. We're gonna go through it right now. I haven't watched it in a while, so here it is. Let's go through this video real quick.
Geass Season 1 a 10, and Code Geass Season...
Yes.
You gave
Okay, here we go.
Code Geass Season 1 a 10, and Code Geass Season 2 an 8.
Oof.
What are your thoughts on that? John?
Okay,
What are your thoughts on
okay.
that? I'm interested.
Okay, so I remember giving it a 10. Okay, so the thing about Code Geass, right, is I gave it a 10 the first time I watched it because I thought it was like a fucking masterpiece. It was perfect. It was everything. I recently, not recently, like I rewatched Code Geass with Sydney, and there was a lot of flaws in Season 1 that I guess I just kind of ignored as a kid, or just like
You too.
kind of forgot about.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like I remember rewatching it, and I'm just like, why is there an episode dedicated to chasing a cat? And how did I just blank this from my memory? Like,
That episode was very shit.
Okay, so let's discuss this. I wanted to talk about this one point here. So, the purpose of that episode was a couple. Number one, Zaku joins the student council. Number two, it shows how far Lucius would go to protect his identity. He was literally going to die to prevent Zaku from getting his helmet. He was sliding off the roof, and so Zaku had to come in there and help him out. So, in that respect, there was some plot relevance to that. Now, yes, the cat taking Arthur grabbing the helmet or the Zero helmet was kind of silly. I agree. Was it stupid? I don't know if it was stupid. it was definitely it definitely could have been done better. I don't know, stupid's a very strong word. I didn't feel like it was stupid. It was more like, okay, I see what you're doing there. You wanted to demonstrate Zaku's ability, athleticism. You wanted to show Lucius that how serious he is about like keeping his identity a secret. So there's, you know, that's the thing about 6. It got Zaku in the student council. That was the purpose behind it. It was a filler-like episode. That's the great. Was it completely stupid? I don't know. It was just kind of careless. I guess they were trying to show that too. It was also funny too. That's right. It was half an episode, and besides that, the episode was funny. That's true. Very true.
Like in my because I remember first watching Code Geass, it was like easy 10 out of 10. This is like the greatest anime can become, and I think I just remember the good points of Code Geass because there was a lot of like plot holes and everything. Like, it's how can we spoil Code Geass?
Yeah, I think it's we're gonna spoil Code Geass.
Okay,
I think it's universally it's like the
skip to this timestamp below because Code Geass. If you haven't watched Code Geass and you want to watch it, it's one of the most spoilable shows out there.
At least they give you the courtesy before they spoil it. I've watched people on YouTube who don't even give you courtesy before they spoil a show, so at least they do that.
But I remember rewatching it, and I'm just like, man, they really had to like twist the plot in order to make Nina, or what was not Nina, Euphemia, just fucking massacre everyone.
Oh my god, are we really going to this again? This is a preference. They didn't twist the plot. They simply had Luch give a command without realizing his Geass power had evolved to the point where he couldn't control it anymore. They already established with Mao, and there's already people who talk about this in greater detail as to why that scene happened. There was no twisting of the plot. They established this could happen, so I don't agree with that. That's an example of the show can't. I don't want people want to be spoon-fed all the time when it comes to this. They kind of set it up, or no, they did set it up, so I don't agree with that point. That's a constant complaint about Code Geass. It's nothing new. I mean, what Gigguk is saying here is the constant complaints that everyone else says too. There's nothing really special about it, but I think it's worth going over again that they actually did establish like why Euphemia, why Lucius Geass did what it did, and the whole situation of Euphemia killing all the Japanese people in the special administrative zone of Japan.
Right. Because I remember watching it, and I'm just thinking, man, the plot's kind of over now. Everything's sorted, and it was just the most
racism is over.
Everyone go home. Yeah. It was just the most roundabout way of like, okay, guys, we got to make the plot continue. How can we make the plot continue? And it was literally, it was literally a scene where the Lelouch goes, haha, wouldn't it be funny if I told you to kill the Japanese? Haha, psych! And then it wasn't psych.
That did happen, right?
Yeah. And I just remembered thinking, wow, I remember thinking as a kid that was a huge plot twist, and now watching it as an adult, I'm just like this is stupid. I'm just like, well, this kind of doesn't make sense. This is kind of pretty cheap right there. Yeah. This is pretty cheap, right?
Wait, cheap or does it make sense? Those are not the same. Something can be cheap but also logically explained. So you have to pick. Did it not make sense that they made Euphemia kill the Japanese people, or was it a cheap way to get the plot going? You have to pick one or the other. You can't just simply say, well, it was both. I don't think it was both things. Now he's saying that the plot was kind of like, oh, it was over, and that's why, because they had to find a way to keep the plot going, that's why the Geass thing kind of did what it did. Well, here's the thing, though, right? Yeah, Replay Valley made a good video on it. That's very true. But what I was going to say was, when you watch the whole scene of Lelouch with Euphemia, you notice that it wasn't like his Geass power just kind of went off and did its thing. C2 fell, and so did Lelouch, because the power was overwhelming him. It kind of developed as the scene progressed. It wasn't like it just sort of happened in one go. It was happening periodically. Well, first it was happening throughout the show, because they said that the more time you use the Geass power, the more powerful it gets, and eventually you lose control over it, like Mao. But more importantly, during the scene with Euphemia, he was losing control of it at the time. And yes, the command itself, you can argue, was a little contrived. But the fact that his Geass went off and he told Euphemia to do anything that was possibly damaging isn't. So that's the part where I don't agree with their analysis there, because it was pretty much well established it was going to happen at some point. Was the timing awful? Sure, but it's a TV show. You should have the timing should be bad. Like it's not like it's real life where things actually that's not true at all. Things always happen when you don't want them to. In the case like this, so no, it's not stupid. It might have been a little cheap, but it was not stupid. And Replay Value made a whole video about it, which actually was pretty good. So again, did you not watch that video when he explained it? It was. It's funny. Nothing's changed. You know what I find amusing about this? I don't mean kind of a dick here, but again, I don't hate these guys personally. I don't even know them. But I mentioned before I went to the whole R2 video that if you don't know about how something worked and you have questions about it, look up the information on the Wikipedia page. Ask people on Facebook and Reddit for or whatever group you go on about the show, because there might be details you missed. Considering Replay Value made a whole video discussing this, the fact that Giga doesn't even reference the video indicates to me that nothing's changed with this guy in terms of why don't you look up information about the show before you go and say something. Now, granted, he might counter by saying, well, the series should just explain it outright. And Code Geass is not that kind of show. He doesn't explain things well. It just doesn't. It's very touch and go with it. It's not like Death Note where every single thing is told to you. Code Geass doesn't do that sort of thing. You know that going in, so if you want more information, you have to go back through the episodes to learn more about, or to learn when the show is hinting at certain events. And it looks like nothing's changed, because if he just watched Replay Value's video on it, gone on Reddit, checked the Wikipedia page, like I said like 1,000 times already, his opinion about the event might have been different. Because again, I felt the same when it came to Death Note. I thought the show was really stupid. And there's certain parts I don't like, but when I learned more about the story, I realized that there's things that it came more of like a preference thing. Like, Death Note isn't necessarily the worst show ever. There's just certain things they did I didn't agree with. That doesn't mean the show is objectively stupid or bad. And the problem with Giga, he can't separate the two, it seems like. It just frustrates me that, even though he has certain opinions about the show, which is fine. You can feel however you want about something, but do some research before you say something. That's what irritates me about when people make statements like this. I know he said, like many years ago, he's too busy with his own life. He doesn't, in videos, he doesn't watch anyone else's content, which is fine. I mean, I'm too busy too, but I do my research, and I wish he did the same. Some comments here. Yeah, the half of the episode, besides it was a funny episode, that's true. I'll listen to a million now, so the winner gets a kiss, and you see Shirley falling. You know what's also important too about that episode? We learned that Kyle has never kissed anyone before, and she was saving it for a specific moment. And that moment was in turn 22, when she kissed Lelouch. So in stage 6, we learned that she never kissed anyone before because she was saving it, and she saved it for Lelouch. So I'm not saying that's a huge plot in the grand scheme, but we did learn that through the episode. So, but it's stupid. It's completely stupid, right? It's stupid. I hope in Zero Capture, Akito and Layla return, and Olderin has a scene or an episode to command her pilots, and she has a gift. She's a gifted pilot. Yeah, that'd be cool. We don't know about Zero Capture, by the way. No updates for sure. No updates yet. Millie invaded a lot of people's privacy, especially Shirley's, and never got punished for it. If she was a male character, she likely would have gotten in a lot of trouble. Yeah, probably. Millie's kind of perverted, but no one cares because she's hot. Let's face it. I hope in Zero Capture, Akito and Layla return an episode. Wait. Did you say the same thing twice? I think you did. Okay. Code Geass is one of the few shows I've seen where I like every episode. There are some episodes I don't love as much as others, but I don't think there were any bad episodes. He forgives Eva for not explaining the plot. Well, yeah, for Geass, he criticizes Geass for it. Oh, because he made that video, thank you, Evangelion. Did he even watch the recap films? Probably not, for Code Geass. Yeah, that's a apparent contradiction there. Well, the reason why he talked about the Evangelion film because it came out, as I said in the start of this stream, that most of YouTubing, not just anime, just YouTubing in general, it's all based on what's popular, what comes out, SEO. That's everything now. No one just talks about stuff they enjoy. They only talk about what's popular, except for a small channel, a few channels like Last Reflections. He just talks about what he wants to talk about. I respect him for that. But like Mother's Basement and these guys, it's just whatever whatever comes out, they talk about it. That's fine. They can do whatever they want. I know in these podcasts, they kind of do whatever they want, but it's a podcast, and they know people are going to watch it no matter what. It's a little different. Plus, in a podcast setting, you can't really delve into everything, especially in like this type of show where it's kind of all over the place in terms of their topics. So it is what it is, and then that's fine. If you want to do content like that, obviously, go for it. They're doing very well financially, so obviously something's working. Just it's kind of frustrating, the inconsistency. So I agree with that. It's a style of narrative to don't explain. Not a problem. People complain about Code Geass style all the time. Yep. And it is a style, of course. You can either spoon-fed your audience or leave clues, and you put together, you get the answers. You can do both too, by the way. There's definitely no right or wrong in terms of that. The Soul Mask episode was important because our first real look at the Emperor Child and his personality. Yeah, that's also true. I don't think he watched Resurrection. Probably not. I don't think he did. Is the movie canon? There's an alternate universe, initiation, transgression, glorification, resurrection, and now Zero Capture. It's a universe that takes place alternative to the original timeline. So it's canon in that universe. That's a, I know, long-winded answer to your question. When you have the time to ever watch a video called Versus Debate, Light versus Luke. It's the funniest debate ever since they go over who's smarter. In the Stolen Mask episode, Saku is presented to the student council. They chase the way of the Levins being included in the group. That's important too. Makes you wonder if he even says anything about Zero Capture when it comes out. Probably, of course he will. That's what kind of concerns me, is that when Zero Capture comes out, there's a bunch of channels that are going to talk about it. Look at Bleach, right? When that new chapter came out, everybody talked about Bleach. And I'm not going to call any names out because, again, it's not, don't hit the players, hate the game, but these channels don't talk about Bleach ever. And they all came out of the woodwork to talk about the new Bleach chapter. Now, a couple of channels do discuss Bleach, but it's like very sparingly. There's like 3 or 4 channels that on a consistent basis discuss Bleach, like Mr. Tomo something, or DB Zero Man, and even Tenking 101. So I was like, yeah, they should talk about it. They do it all the time. But a bunch of channels just jumped on it because it was new and popular, which is, it is what it is, I guess. But it was kind of annoying. Is that debate Light versus Lelouch? What channel? What YouTube channel is that? Tell me what the channel is, because I've only seen a rap battle between Lelouch and Light. So if you tell me the channel, I can look it up. Yeah, Lelouch is alive in that universe, right? Yeah. It's not the current universe; it's this new universe. Although some have argued that if Lelouch lived in Resurrection, he could probably be revived in R2. I don't agree, but some people have made that point. Zero Capture's popular will depend on how connected to the original series, or else it's gonna be like Akito and nowhere near as popular. Yeah, no one talks about Akito to Exile as much. That's very true. There are a couple of channels that discuss like whatever shows come out, they just review all the episodes. So if that's the case, it might end up as one of those shows. I mean, granted, like how do people talk about Fruit Basket? And that was pretty popular. Or what's another show that came out that was like a revival of an old series that people really liked? Oh, they made a new Inuyasha series. Did anyone talk about that show? I don't think so. Even the new Higurashi, no one's really talking about it much. So it's very possible it might come out and people might ignore it. I don't know. Oh, it's Kato? Oh, he made the video. Oh, you mean the Kira versus... yeah, I saw that video. Kira versus Light? Yeah, I saw that. That came out very recently, the Kira versus Zero. I think it was Kira versus Zero. Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty good. Look, Kato's actually really good, okay? I praised him enough times. He knows what he's talking about. He's pretty intelligent when it comes to that sort of thing. I don't think Shonen Showdown's ever done a Light versus a Lelouch video. They've done a Colin versus C2 video. They don't do much Code Geass content. I would love to work with them sometime. They're really cool guys. Good channel too. But yeah, if Zero Capture, it depends what it's about. If, like, I'll say as much. If Oz the Reflection was animated, I think people would talk about that show because it has Lelouch in there. And it's actually a pretty good plot. But if it's Zero Capture, probably not. Again, it depends what it is. I mean, no one's discussed Jetsari Code except for like my channel, and there's one channel called Kitesin, and there's another one too that a guy I met on Reddit. He discussed it as well, but it's not really getting a lot of attention because again, no one really cares. So if that's the same for Zero Capture, it might be the same, but it might be the same response. But again, we have to see what the show's gonna look like. There's no information given. They'll have to make the story, context, plot, charismatic frame, Geass fights, CGI perfect for it to be popular. That's true, but it also has to have a good plot. You said plot? You said that, right? Yeah, it all has to be good. You're right. Basically, what you're saying is that it all has to be perfect. Exactly. It's Code Geass Zero versus Light, Yagami and Kira. Here, let's take a look. Let's see. I thought... One second. I forgot to shout out your comments, by the way. My bad. Why is it showing that? That's the wrong picture. That's really weird. It should not be showing that. I thought I made a... Huh? Alright, whatever. It should be showing that. Anyways. Light versus Lelouch. Let's click and see what happens. So it's not this one. It's not the rap battle. It's this one, right? The Zero versus Kira. The cross-examination from Kato. This is what we're talking about, right? I thought it was. No? I'm trying to look what else we got here. Another rap battle. Who is worse? Oh, was this it? Otaku Battle Draws. This is what we're talking about. Versus debate. Light Yagami versus Lelouch Britannia. I've never seen this before. This must be what you're talking about. I'll add it to my watch later. Okay. See, even mine shows up. And in that video, I mean, it was okay. But, like, I'm just saying, like, mine's showing up here. So no one's really done this topic of Light versus Lelouch. And by the way, I have a good video coming up after this one for the whole... Oh, they did do it. Oh. They did make the video. You're right, guys. Okay, I'll watch it later. Okay. One thing I like to do before I make a video about any topic, I don't tend to watch any videos covering it because I don't want to say what's already been said. I'll often like put my thoughts together, you know, without any influence. Then I'll watch content based on that topic and try to see if like I'm saying what's already been said and try to say something different. Because I also want to give you guys my honest thoughts without any influence. So okay, they did do one. I didn't know they did a video on Light Yagami versus Zero. But anyways, like I said before, I'll have another video after the one I have now for the intelligence. So I'll go check that out later, or I'll go make it later. But other than that, there isn't a whole lot of. Okay, another one. This came out 3 months ago. Who's this guy? Seth the Sin? Oh, around my subscriber range. Started a couple years ago. Makes a lot of videos. Wow, he's made a lot of videos. Darn. Look at that. That's crazy. Okay. We got off topic. I'll watch these videos later, but I'm glad you guys mentioned them. Alright. Let's continue on with this video. Actually, let's make one more before I continue. There was a lot of High Wars Rushing got announced but died out. Yeah, of course there was. How many YouTubers like Fox and Anime, and of course Anime Uproar, they like, and Anime Balls Deep, I think, they all lived off the Code Geass content for that whole time between, what was it, 2017 to 18, then 19, and it just kind of stopped after that point. Very true. Kato did the one where it was Kira versus Lelouch. Kato liked Code Geass a lot. He's one of our Code Geass gospel preachers, pretty much. Yeah, I was talking about that one. Shonen was talking about the good reasons who would win. Okay, I'll check it out later. I'm interested.
Writing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I would give Code Geass Season 1 maybe an 8.
I think because the highs of Code Geass are so good,
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
you almost forgive it.
The
for
highs are very high.
So you forgive it for a lot of the shit it does.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
And then season 2 was like that was I don't know what it is about season 2. That was like a car crash that somehow
Roller was the roller.
season 2 was a car crash that somehow perfectly parallel parked. Like it was an absolute disaster, and somehow it like just landed its ending perfectly. And I remember rewatching Code Geass R2 after season 1, and after going on the problems I had with season 1, season 2 just took all the like small problems with season 1 and just extrapolated to them.
Yeah.
So like
Now, this point I don't just entirely disagree with, because I even mentioned that R2 doubles down everything R1 I didn't like the fan service and the fan service parts of it, or some of the other. I'm trying to remember what I say about it. I didn't like besides the fan service. That was the main one. There was something else they doubled down to I didn't like. I don't know, I'm forgetting, but that was the main thing. Rather than going to the parts I did like. So I do agree that they definitely took certain parts that weren't good and they kind of doubled down on them. Not all of them, by the way, but just certain parts. That is true.
let's take every stupid plot twist in season 1 and just make it 10 times bigger.
True.
And I think the exact moment that lost me in season 2 was like it was Lelouch. It was the I am Spartacus scene, but just with Lelouch.
Oh yeah.
And I just thought, okay, this is not clever anymore. It's
Yeah,
just
true.
stupid. And everything up to that, till like the final 3 episodes, was fucking dumb. But
And they stick the landing, man.
but
Yeah.
like the ending is still, I think, the best ending ever in anime.
It's off there, yeah.
I would think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I would think it's probably the best, off the top of my head, the best ending anime has produced so far. So, God
Was
knows,
that an unpopular opinion?
God knows.
Highs of Code Geass are so good.
Very high.
So you
That was
Roller.
parallel parks. Like it was like
So there's a couple things I want to mention here. So they said the season 2 was a complete disaster, and I don't think it was. The problem with season 2, to me, the only really thing I didn't like about it was the Ragnarok connection. That was the only part where it really went off the rails, because they had to condense maybe 5 episodes of plot into like 1 or 2. That was the problem. 1, 2. That was the problem with Code Geass R2. The rest of it, I mean, it wasn't terrible. I'm not sure what the complaints are. Again, people like to say things, they don't really give specific reasons or I guess reasons. This is all obviously a personal opinion, but the whole Spartacus thing, again, it's funny, nothing's changed with Giga. He still hates it then. He hated it then, he hates it now. That hasn't changed with him. But I didn't really find that to be that terrible. Again, I don't want to rehash what I've said before. The other parts of R2, when you look at it, yes, the whole thing with Shinkai could have been done better. I associate that with a character, not defect, but issue with Lelouch, like a character flaw. That he didn't realize that working with Shinkai early on would have been better than like fighting against him, right? The whole like nightmare thing. Again, that's been the show from like day 1, so that didn't bother me. Rollo, the other guy said Rollo was a problem with it. No, Rollo was not the problem with R2. Rollo is actually an important part of the story because it demonstrates how Lelouch's own like manipulation screwed him over, because he ended up making Rollo too dependent on him to the point where no one else could be with Lelouch. That's why he killed Shirley and why he did those awful things. Like Rollo was a very important character, just like Mikami was to Light in Death Note. Very similar roles. In fact, both characters, ironically enough, when they act on their own, they both screw over the main protagonist. It's kind of funny. They have a little similarity in that regard. No, and then the whole thing of like Lelouch, the whole thing, like, they're basically arguing this. R2 was a mess. The ending was good. That is all. When I just don't agree, because there was good setup to the ending. Like, usually a good ending or a bad ending is a setup from the whole show. I'm not going to go into Mass Effect too much because you guys don't want to rant. You don't want to hear a rant about Mass Effect. That's like, God, that game. But the ending of Mass Effect 3 was... I remember when I first played the game, and I hated the ending. But I realized it wasn't just the ending I hated. It was everything that led up to the ending. Because it wasn't just like how the game ended. It was more like everything that built up to the ending. Because endings don't just come out of nowhere. It's an amalgamation of everything that's come up to that point. Everyone used to say stuff like, Mass Effect 3 was like really good, Mass Effect 3. But that ending was terrible. And I was like, no, the whole game was bad. Like everything was leading up to like... The ending is only bad because everything that led up to the ending was terrible. The whole, like, the Citadel's creation... Or not Citadel, the, I don't remember the name of that stupid thing you're supposed to build. The Catalyst, I think it was called. To, to connect to the, stop the Reapers. That whole device they were making. I forgot what they called it. I stopped caring because it pissed me off. But that was, like, the main part of the game from the beginning. And everything kind of led up to it. We didn't know what it was. And the ending, it kind of made up out of nowhere and created a character. And, God, it was so terrible. But the point is, like, you don't just point to the ending of that game and say, that's why it was bad. You point to everything that led up to that moment. And R2 is kind of the same in that regard. You can point to the ending saying it was good, but realize that everything that led up to the ending is what made it good. The whole situation in Turn 18 with the Flare Warhead. The fact that in the very early on of Code Geass, like stage 4, I believe. No, not 4, 5. Lelouch said, like, the way this ends is if the fighting stops. That was the main goal coming in. The whole idea Lelouch said in the beginning, only those who should kill are those prepared to be killed. And that's how this R2 ended. The point I make is that you go through all of R2 and it adds up to this ending. That's why the ending is so good. If the ending just came out of nowhere, it wouldn't have been as good, but it was a perfect... Everything kind of perfectly lined up to make it what it was. That's why I don't like it when people say stuff like, the whole thing was bad, but the ending was great. Or the whole thing was good, but the ending was bad. I'm like, no, it doesn't make any sense. Usually, one leads to the other. I'll definitely admit that an ending can definitely ruin a show if not handled properly, for sure. But usually, if you look back at a show, the ending is usually set up nicely in the show. They usually don't come out of nowhere. That's not always the case, like School Days. But generally speaking, it usually is pretty consistent. Although even with School Days too, I mean, they kind of set it up for it. I don't want to discuss School Days, kind of crazy, but okay. Let's see. I wouldn't call R2 a disaster. No, it wasn't a disaster. It was just rushed. That's not a disaster. It needed more episodes. The original series was rebroadcast in October, but however, what about what they're doing is they're changing the OPs and the endings. That's what they are. We'll see how that goes. I don't understand. I find people that they like R1 more than R2, except by the ending. I always loved R2 and liked every part of that, the dots that connect towards the end. Look, I liked R1 more than R2 too, so I'm in that group. Man, the gas is real. If R2 had more episodes, I would have liked R2 more. I'll definitely say that R2 had higher emotional. R2 had higher emotional highs. I think I said that wrong. But whatever, it has more emotional highs than R1 does. And the moments in R2, they're more stuck out to me, years after I watched the show. So I'll definitely give it that. But R1 had a more grounded story, and that's personal preference. I'm not saying objectively one is better than the other. That's just something that I wanted instead, or that's something I enjoyed more. So I wouldn't say that R1 was a perfection and R2 was a hot mess, like they're saying here. It's more like both shows were different, and due to some unfortunate planning, one in my mind turned out better than the other. But it's not like significantly. Like R1 is like here, R2 is like here. It's not like that. The ending can't be good if a lot of the build-up was bad. Pretty much, yeah. That's the point I'm making. People may see Rawl as a problem because he's an annoyance in the plot development. It's his purpose. He was written to be an ally. That's not exactly a good thing. I think Rawl is a good character. Yeah, I really like him too. The ending can't be the great ending ever. The build was bad. That's basically what I'm arguing. Yeah. I mean, the whole Zaku finding the flay and then joining Lelouch at the end. was pretty cool. And even 17 was setting up as well. It was a long. You can see where we were going with this. Code Geass ending is a masterpiece. Puzzle, everything builds up to it, just awesome. The build-up was good though. When you watch the verse debate live versus Lush, trust me, you're gonna be crying. And tell us how you feel about it. I could do a post later. It's like a 2-hour video. I'm not gonna like do a reaction video, of course. But yeah, I'll check it out. It sounds good. I usually don't mind watching discussions about it. And now that I finished my my analysis, at least between intelligence-wise, I'm curious to see how they how other people see it. But yeah.
Absolute disaster to them.
Yeah.
So like, let's take the best ending, the best off the top of my head, the best ending anime is produced so far. So God
Is
knows.
that an unpopular opinion?
God knows.
So, unpopular opinion, no. In fact, nothing these people ever say. Well, what GIGGUK'S said here wasn't unpopular. Given the popular of DX's video, that's not true. I'm just trying to see any comments here that kind of express our. Yeah, that's right. This right here is the point I was just making. Good point. You want these hands. Braun Strowman. That was good stuff. He's not a thing anymore. WWE released him like, I don't know, several months ago. The cat chasing episode was used largely to integrate Suzaku into the student body. This needed to be given a lot of attention and runtime because he was being bullied before this event. Without such a spectacle and surge in popularity, it'd be hard to accept that the bullying in general on these students suddenly stopped and we have to continue the plot thread. Good point. Right. There's a bunch of reasons why they're good. No, that's a good point too. I like that. Yep, the foreshadowing was mentioned here as well. Yeah, exactly. I never offended by saying I 100% agree. That's funny. All I remember Code Geass is the poor table code. So the ending of season be like, Luce, I made a mistake. Go back. I don't understand how they didn't like the whole of season 2, but yet consider finale the best ending because when you think about it, here we go. This is very important. I made this point many times, and I'm glad this guy made it here too. I'm gonna like this comment. I don't understand how they didn't like the whole of season 2, but yet consider the finale the best ending ever. Because when you think about it, everything that happened in season 2 was planned by Lelouch, was the build up to the finale. The finale was so good, it was supposed to make you appreciate everything that happened in the season beforehand and make you realize why Lelouch took those actions. The finale filled up all the holes that we had in season 2, as everything that happened was connected from the very start all the way to finale. There you go, and that's the point. This is why the ending was good. Well said, sir. Michelle, that's funny, Michelle. Yeah. I completely agree. How I tell you limited in your podcast. Trash tastes. So that's definitely true. So that's a good point there. Let me read a couple more comments and I gotta stop for the night. I'm got stuff to do tomorrow. I'm sure you guys do too as well. Let's see. A couple more that we're gonna call it. The argument of his about the ending looks like a friend of mine and in order to critique my favorite anime, Code Geass, he said, except when the show does its best moments. He's bad? Except when the show does its best moment, it's bad. Makes absolutely no sense. You have vacuum ending of any other great highs. I rewatched more R2 episodes exactly because they point to somewhat poetic manner. The episodes rhyme. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, that's true. I will say that when I choose to rewatch episodes of Code Geass every now and then, I usually pick R2 episodes. I will definitely not argue with that. I rewatch 18 a lot. I love 18. That's one of my favorite episodes of all time. I rewatched the first episode of R1, R2. That's a good one too. 6 is great. I liked obviously the last couple are just perfect. But the I watched the first one. 6 is good. I watched the Chinese Federation part. I personally enjoyed, from 9 to 11. But I can see why some people didn't like that one. There's some parts I didn't enjoy. But I do come back to that one as well. I'm trying to think. Oh, and I watched 15. I watched 15 a lot. That was a good one, too. So, you know what? It's weird. I thought R1 had a better story overall. But now when I think about it, I prefer more of the R2 episodes. Like, again, with 15 when you learn about C2's past, and 18 when Colin has her moment to shine, and 6 when they did that whole, what was it called, invasion from the air. So, man. Now I'm kind of like all over the place because, like, I don't know. I think about R2 actually has, I rewatch that more than I do R1. I don't know. Well, anyways, R2 wasn't hot trash. These guys are. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I have no hatred towards trash tastes or any guys. They work really hard and their stuff's pretty good. Except when they live up to their name, as people have said. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the stream. Tomorrow afternoon, I should have the Lelouch versus Light Intelligence. I'll watch these 2 videos you guys suggested. Maybe the next stream we'll talk about it. Or maybe we'll be playing Zeta Capture. Not Capture. Sorry, Code. I knew I was going to make that mistake. I'm so stupid. No, it won't be next week. It'll be in 2 weeks because the game comes out the 27th. So I have a whole week to figure out how to get it working. If I can get it working. But we'll see what we'll talk about next week. You know what we also can do? Actually, one thing before I end, really quick. If you type Code Geass, there's a video that came out. We might do this one next week. If you guys watched this video, it was pretty stupid, but I wanted to bring it up. If you guys are interested in me going over it, I'll post a post for it. But one second. Oh, that looks familiar. This guy sucks though, so don't watch his videos. Anyways, let's see. Where is it? It's this guy made this video where he said it was absolutely terrible. It was really funny. There's like 2 guys who make videos on Code Geass where they just this guy here, best guy ever. Have you guys seen this video? I might do this one next because he really rips it a new one. It was pretty funny. But yeah, anyways, I'll post a link. I'll post a post on it. I'll post the post. Okay, guys. Anyways, have a good week. And we'll do this again next week, regardless of what the topic is. Thanks, guys. As always, take care.